Hey,
That was it. Well, the worst part is when everybody thinks we put the salt in the hopper too.
Yeah, the fancy one with the lanes, but like. I said, well, I said to him, you can get a copper cup for like 15 bucks. I said, we pay much.
And it
I thought
was,
80 or 85. It was kind of
oh
like
boy, all right.
we've been doing that, right? And but that was the limit. And then
What? I know, I know, I know. I'm waiting, I'm waiting, I'm
who
waiting.
knows? That's why it's a gamble.
I'll see.
oh, ones here. There are more ones.
Rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting complies with the Open Public Meetings Act. Notice of this meeting had been published on the municipal bulletin board and the applicable publications as required by law.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hyman,
Here.
Mr. Martins,
Here.
Ms. Rosal,
Here.
Mr. Tremor,
Here.
Ms. Cusano,
Here.
Mr. Seleckia,
Here.
Dr. Hofstein,
Here.
and Ms. Bradley's absent.
We have one resolution.
Yes, we have Resolution 2026-04. This is regarding the Port Cone property. They had already had the approval, and they had come in with an additional and change of the plan. And the resolution before you complies with, includes all conditions placed on the record.
Make a motion to approve?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hyman,
Yes.
Mr. Martins,
Yes.
Ms. Rosal,
Yes.
Mr. Tremor,
Yes.
Mr. Seleckia,
Yes.
Dr. Hofstein.
Thank you. We have two vouchers. One is for minutes for 3/6, 4 for $100, and another one for that's for $175 for the minutes of 2/4/26.
Motion to approve those vouchers? Second. Any motion to approve them?
Okay. Do we have a second? Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hyman,
Yes.
Mr. Martins,
Yes.
Ms. Rosal,
Yes.
Mr. Tremor,
Yes.
Ms. Cusano,
Yes.
Mr. Seleckia,
Yes.
Dr. Hofstein.
Yes. Are there any announcements?
Yes, there are. On your agenda, number 1, Stolman, they have requested that that be carried to the February 18th meeting. There would be no additional notice. The applicant is trying to get some information on moving of the shed, if you recall that one, when it was first before us. And number 4, Caesar, is also being moved. We received information today. They're submitting some additional plans that will be moved to March 4th with no additional notice.
Are there any items for discussion? Okay, we were planning on, part of the reorganization is to appoint a traffic engineer, but the chairwoman has all the information for us, so I would move that we carry this meeting until the March 4th session.
You need a second? Or did you make that as a motion?
Yes, that would be your motion. Second,
I'll second that emotion, yeah, that motion.
roll call, please.
Mr. Hyman, Mr. Martins,
Yes.
Ms. Rosal,
Yes.
Mr. Tremor,
Yes.
Ms. Cusano,
Yes.
Mr. Seleckia,
Yes.
Dr. Hofstein.
Yes. Okay, we'll start, we'll swear in our professionals.
You swear or affirm that the testimony you will give to this board will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. I do.
Please state your name and position for the record.
Mark Romeyer, Board Engineer.
Ernie Peters, Board Planner.
Gina Tumalo, Acting Zoning Officer.
Thank you. I'll call in the applications. The first application is James Hughes, Faraday Avenue. For an amended site plan. Anybody present for this application?
Okay, well, in terms of that,
It's-
the acoustics in this room and even with the new equipment, the sound quality is not good, and I can't speak for the board, but I can speak for myself. often have trouble hearing, so we would ask that you and all witnesses speak directly into the microphone. Thank you. Yes, we did.
Hello? Okay. Peter Lafredo, on behalf of the applicant. I know this matter came before the board. There was a little bit of a hearing. I don't know if all of the board members are the same from then, probably not. So I will go through a little bit.
If it was
of-
more than about a month ago, then no, it's not all the same. So,
Well, it was definitely more than a month ago.
so assume that you need to start from the beginning.
Yes, so this particular property in question, in 1983, had planning board approval for the construction of a warehouse office space parking. With that, my client had a plumbing business that he operates there. There's a showroom. In 2011, he received planning board approval for the construction of a material equipment pole barn storage building. There were some existing trailers on there which were permitted to be continued to utilize there. We're coming now before the board because there is a portion of this property which you will see or have seen in any of the plans that have been submitted with regards to an area that is open. And what he wants to do is allow that to be rented out to third-party vendors. That's the simple part of the application. The more difficult part in dealing with it for you is that I do not have specifically to come before the board and say, you know what, we have this person who wants to rent it out, this is how they want to use it, and this is the way it's going to be used, specifically so that you have all of that right in hand, right there, right now. What it is that my client was approached by different things, so I'm going to kind of give you an idea of what we're looking at, and then go in things that what we're not looking to do, and then work with you to try and fix this plan and allow this application to be approved. So one of the things or individuals that have contacted my client at one point in time was like a repo company. What they wanted to do was they wanted to repo vehicles, and they wanted to put them into the area that we have, and then they would be there for a short period of time, and then the banks would come or they would be removed from there. But it was a repo company. We've had other excavators ask us if they can store their large equipment on the property. We've had landscapers who have approached us about putting their trailers and things, equipment there. Some companies other companies are storing their equipment, trailers, storage bins, and things of that nature. And we've had some neighboring companies that are around in that vicinity that need parking and ask for parking in that area. So that's where this has begun, and that's where we're starting from. From there, I would say things we're not going to do. I mentioned landscapers. We are not allowing mulch, grass, stone, or anything that's raw material from third-party vendors to be stored on the property. That's not what we want. We want to keep the property maintained and clean, so we're staying away from any of that piping and all that that's loose from any other outside vendors. Those would have to be in storage facilities that they would leave there, a trailer of some sort. What we are not dealing with
Excuse me, so you would have a landscape company, but they can't do the outdoor storage that you.
Right, they would be putting more of their trailers there. Maybe they can't take their trailers that have their mowers in it and they want to bring it there and they're going to put something there like that. Or maybe they have other supplies that they want to put in there in a storage bin. We are not allowing raw material to be onto the ground or anything like that being stored there.
But you would allow raw material within trailers on the property?
There's a possibility if there's something like that. I don't know, unless there's a prohibition by this board, and we would, again, follow what the board does. We're not trying to do anything out in regards to that. But if there was a way that they had some sort of raw material, if they have their piping, if they have their electrical supplies and all of that, they're putting it in a bin, we're not going to stop that. I don't know that they really can store mulch or anything in a bin like that, but I'm not, it's not a field that I'm particularly in. Something would have to be brought to us and we'd have to deal with that. But again, if there's any prohibitions by this board, we're trying to work with you in that regard so that we all can have a situation that can be regulated by everybody. We're trying to make it as easy as possible in that regard. One, there will be no utilities brought to that area. So there's going to be no repair work, construction work outside, somebody bringing their car there and doing repair work or anything like that. We're going to have no living facilities. Just say somebody was going to put they repoed a mobile home or something like that and it's there. No living. You can't live there. We don't want anybody coming in there with a truck that's going to sleep there overnight. We don't want any of that. What we're really looking for is individuals that were coming to us that were really asking to store vehicles, cars, if in a repo case, whatever they were going to repo and put in that place for a short period of time. No hazardous materials that we're dealing with. We're not looking to store hazardous materials. Obviously, if a landscaper there and is leaving a mower there, there's going to be some gas in the particular thing, but it's not going to be a storage for any type of hazardous material. Those are the things we're not doing. That brings us to where, as I said, that's the more difficult spot because I can't tell you specifically. We have somebody who's giving us 10 trailers. Here's how we're going to lay them out. Here's the positioning we're going to put them in and go from there. But could we get that? Yes, we could. Could we have a repo person who's bringing their vehicles there? Yes. Can I tell you how many? No. Can I tell you the neighbor next door, how many cars he wants to park there? Right now, no. But we would make the plan, and that what we're trying to do is facilitate that plan. We have taken the area and we've broken it up into half. So it was one big gated area. It's broken into two now. Part of that was to keep some of that control, keep some consistency, and not have a haphazard area where things are just being thrown in there. My client needs to maintain this, and if you've been to the site and you've seen his facility, I'm going to dub him as a clean freak because he's very meticulous in what he wants and trying to keep it clean, and that's what he's trying to do. There was a discussion in the previous hearing here about there is a dumpster on site. There was some discussion about that, and I know that will come up later. But in this particular area where we have the gated areas, my client is not going to put a dumpster in there. There was some comment about thinking he was. No. What he basically will do is put some garbage cans in there that'll be attached to the fence so that when you're dealing with this, again, I'm thinking of workers who are coming there in the morning, picking up their stuff. They stopped at McDonald's, Burger King, or wherever, got some of their breakfast. They might have some cups, paper that they want to throw away. We'll have some trash bins in there to which he would then clean up for himself in that regard there. There are two entrances into the facility, one that's on the Edison portion of the road, and you can enter into that one. The other one is on Sterling, where you would enter into the front. Those two separate entrances are there. My client would be probably putting them some sort of combination lock, depending on who's there, so that the people can access it, but so that it also can be locked. Those are going to be things that we're going to deal with. I do have witnesses here that will be talking more of the technical aspect of it, and I will have them brought up to go through the technical things, but I will stop right here if there's questions that I can answer on behalf of my client.
If you're storing cars or trailers, what kind of ground coverage will you have? Concrete or?
Well, right now, that's a stoned area. That's it. And that's all it's going to be. The area in question is stoned.
How thick is the stone?
That I would leave for the more technical aspect. They will address the depth and the stoning itself. But my client has put quite a bit of stone there.
Well, I think what we would be concerned about would be any leakage from your containers, trailers, or whatever you have there.
Understand.
So it would have to be something that would prevent any leakage into the ground.
Okay.
Mr. Lafredo, just because of, and you've sort of acknowledged the kind of the difficulty that you can identify what you're not going to do, but having more difficulty or certainly being more open in terms of what you are doing. How are you, what is the approval that you are seeking from this board?
I believe the actual issue is a use variance to allow us to rent the area out to third-party vendors.
Okay,
I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Because if it was for him, he would be able to use that various facility on his own because it's his own. However, to use it for third-party vendors, to lease it out, to do anything like that, we would need a use variance.
and are you looking for any C variances in conjunction with that?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, are you looking for any C variances in conjunction with the use variance?
Yes, to do that.
Okay,
Yeah.
If there's non-technical questions, I will certainly try to answer them. If they become technical, I will leave them for the planner and the engineer that we have, if that's okay.
Oh, sorry. Okay. I do have a non-technical question. And I think it goes along with what our lawyer had mentioned. So I understand your predicament that basically it's not leased yet, right? So how do you give us some usage information? The fact too is, even if you did, you can then lease it, a year, 2 years later, you lease it, then the usage of it, in theory, would change because you get someone new, right?
I'm trying to follow you.
Right. So when so let's say you get the repo guy.
Correct.
How long is that lease?
Again, we don't have one, so I can't tell you, but you're
But-
absolutely correct. In 1 year, I could have a repo guy.
Right.
The next year, he could be gone and out of the picture, and all of a sudden, somebody comes in and wants to rent out with a bigger machinery and equipment or trailers that they want to put in there, which would change that thing. And that's where
Yeah.
part of my understanding of the issue
Yes.
or the concern is how do you deal with that?
Yes.
And that's what I'm trying to work with the board so that we have a generalized plan.
Right.
Because I think the plan has to be more generalized because I don't have specifically to
Yeah.
say to you, this is exactly what's going there, it's staying there, and it's never going to change.
Yeah. And then so why I ask you that is, and that's okay, right? Because it would have changed anyway, right? What I am, and you brought it up, is what you're not going to do.
Correct.
So my question to you is, how do you enforce that? How do I know that 10 years from now, what you told me today you're not going to do, all of a sudden you get a great client, and then you're going to start
Because we're
doing
going to
it?
have a resolution that's drafted up, and within your resolution, you can certainly have restrictions on what we cannot do.
Yep.
And what we're telling you that we cannot do.
Yep.
And that would be part of the resolution, which would remain on file and obviously be there.
Yep.
So that's why I
And-
kind of laid out some of those things. We
Understood?
want to stay within the confines of what the board has approved maybe in the past and all. For instance, I think there was a discussion at the last hearing about storage containers, okay? And then the question was, oh, well, are you going to stack them? Well, we have no plans on that. If within the jurisdiction,
Mhm.
it's already been established that you can't stack them, well, we're not going to stack them.
Yep.
If within your jurisdiction, you said, oh, you can stack one, but that's it, then I would say at worst case scenario, that's what, but we have no plans for that.
Yep.
So we're trying to work with the board, and I understand a bit of the difficulty in that. I listened to the hearing that happened back in March of 2025, so I'm cognizant of where that's a difficulty. And that's why I brought it right up in the front. There's our issue, but these are the people who have at least approached us. These are the things we're looking at, and these are we're trying to keep within the confines of those. Raise the issue now of what do you do on the ground surface? Again, that might be more
Mhm.
technical things.
Okay. Yeah. Let me just so why I bring that up. You never know when it's too loud and not loud enough. So the 100% where you're saying nope, just never going to happen. This is not going to happen. You have that in writing so that we can add it to the resolution, or are we supposed to, or are you just taking notes right now?
I'm just
How
taking
does that work?
notes.
Yeah.
That's sort
do
of
you
the-
have
the-
and yeah.
The good
Let me
and
just-
bad, well,
Yeah.
I'm being really generous when I describe it that way, but right now, what we're doing, or what I'm doing, is taking notes on all of these limitations that are being proposed
Yeah.
as something the board may want to
include as a condition
Yeah. Oh,
if we get to that point.
okay, right. So, because you're kind of listing out a few, there's probably more, right? So I don't know that what you just said was all inclusive. Give me just 1 second. I'm gonna go there. Because those restrictions, will they be part of the lease? Whoever you're leasing it to, hey, no sand, no this, no that. That will all be part of the lease?
My client will have to draft a lease that is going to do that because it has to protect him. So yes, we will have things of that nature in there as well.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, because I understand about the resolution, but really, if you put it on the lease, then that's a whole other story, right? Then we know that you're gonna, obviously enforce it.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's part of the issue of what we're doing, because as we go through this application, you're going to say, well, how are you leasing this? Well, I don't know yet, because I may get a person and I may say, I'm going to split the far section of the thing in half. You get that half. We're going to have to designate it when he does his lease. Am I envisioning it? I'm envisioning him have a little plan and say, this is yours and you get that space. And this is his and he gets that space. And we're going to have to deal with it in that. So our leases are going to have to be dealt with in that regard.
Right.
And they will have to list things you cannot do, as we would.
Right, you'll have
normally
a
say.
section of things you cannot do.
Correct.
Gotcha, okay. So my only point is, I think would be helpful for all of us if you had that list in writing so that we can add it to the resolution and it's all inclusive. But that's just the thought. I don't
would
know.
love to say that I have one, but again, as it's developing, there will be a list, and that list may grow and grow as to what we don't want on the property and how we're going to do that. But other than what I was initially throwing out to you, and obviously during this discussion, there may be other things that we come up and say, okay, that's on the list. We're not going to do that. Yes, we might do this. This is on the list. We might do that, but I would say that's there because we want to work with you. That's the whole point.
Okay,
We're trying
thank
to
you.
work with the board
Mr.
and hope that the
Mr.
board will work
Peters
with
has-
us.
Mr. Chairman, if I
Yes.
might, while I appreciate Mr. Lafredo being upfront about what they want to do, they don't want to do, I'd like to remind the board that the proof is their responsibility, not the board's. Okay? I'm concerned. I don't want the board members to start talking about conditions of approval when we haven't heard any testimony from a witness other than the applicant's attorney, which isn't in writing. So I'm not sure if it's really evidence or not. He just said, this is my client tells me he's going to do, but we don't have it in writing. And yet we want to talk about conditions of approval. Let's not prejudge the application. Let's hear the witnesses. Let's figure out what we have concerns over, and let's bring them up after we've heard the testimony. Because yes, are there issues about what these aren't going to be? Yes, we got off to a good start. Here's what they want to do. Here's what they don't want to do. That's good. That means that from the March 24 until today, they listen, they have an understanding. Will our board attorney say, hey, listen, when we're done with the hearing this evening or the testimony this evening, maybe we take a break and get a draft from the applicant of what they're going to do and not do? Because all we have so far, respectfully, is the attorney's comments, which isn't testimony. You guys haven't seen it yet. So I think you need to see that before you make an informed decision on the application. As it relates to enforcement, let's get their proofs on the record for the use. Because at the end of the day, enforcement shouldn't be the town's problem. It should be the applicant's problem. Are we going to go see the guy who's putting a landscape? Are we going to see the owner of this property? We're not here to make the applicant's job easier. We're here to make the zoning officer's job easier. Put forth what we're going to do on the property. So I didn't mean to jump in and be sort of hard-nosed about it, but let's hear the testimony first before we start talking about the conditions of they've done a good job in terms of, since they were here last, about what the board members at that point were concerned about. But I'm not sure we ever got to the proofs. This is a use variance application. What they're proposing is not permitted. So let's talk about all the things the board members have started to talk about. Stone parking area, motor vehicles on it, all that. Let's do it after we hear the testimony. Thank you.
I don't disagree. And part of mine was during the discussion, meaning during this entire hearing. I'm not asking the board to come up and make decisions or conditions on it, but I know that you may, after you hear everything, have conditions you want to put on. So I want to make it clear. I do agree 100%. And what I have put on the record, I have no problem of, at this point, if the board wishes, or I will do it. I can call Mr. Hughes up, who is the owner of the property, and he can confirm what I've at least put out to the board of what we're willing to do, not willing to do, so you can hear at least his testimony from that. I can then bring up all of the engineers and the planner, and they can go through the technical reviews based on the letters that have come through. And then from there, you may have other questions and other issues to concerns that we can all address.
Well, Mr. Lafredo, you are the master of your own application, so you
Understood.
decide who we should hear from first.
No, I agree with you that I am the master of that, but I was just trying to move it along, and I would have Mr. Hughes come on up.
Yes. Would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will give before this board will be the truth and nothing but the truth? And will you state your name for the record and preferably into the microphone?
James W. Hughes.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Hughes, you've heard my opening discussion with the board. So first thing first, are you the owner of the property?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And what do you do on that particular property?
I do plumbing.
Okay. And so you have a showroom on there?
Yes.
As well as some facilities to store your materials and all that?
Yes.
You have an area in the back to which you are looking to maybe rent out to third-party vendors. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Some of the things that you've heard me state in the original thing, and I want you to confirm that that be true. Number one, you are not going to bring any utilities to that area where you're going to rent to third-party individuals, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You are not going to allow the storing of any hazardous waste or products in the general sense. But if somebody, like a landscaper has a lawnmower that they're leaving there in their trailer, obviously there will be some gas in there. But you're going to allow that, but you will not allow the storing of hazardous, any waste or materials there.
Yes.
You will have no third-party vendors utilizing any raw materials that'll be left on the ground. That would include wiring, plumbing, supplies other than, of course, your own, but theirs. No mulch, no grass, no stone, where they're using this raw material that's just sitting on the ground.
No, I won't.
Okay. You're going to have no one there that any type of living situation where anybody can stay there overnight or anything.
No.
And you wouldn't have any situations of people just sleeping there overnight.
No, I don't know intentions at all.
Your intent is really to allow people to store machinery, storage trailers, vehicles in that area.
Yes.
You currently have no particular lease in place with anyone at this time.
No.
But you have been approached by individuals in the repo business. Is that true?
Yes, I have.
Excavators.
And people across the street from me, they own the dumps, you know, they got garbage people and they have a lot of vehicles and they park them on the side of the road. And they want to be able to park them in my parking lot because, you know, people, they're parking the road and you can't get through them on the road.
And when you're going to deal with this situation where obviously you're going to start renting out areas, are you going to have a lease in place?
Yes, I will.
Okay. And within that lease, is it your testimony that you will put in there things that they cannot do in that area?
Yes, they can't do what they can do.
Okay. And in these two areas that you have, there is right now, they're open, but you intend to have garbage cans put into there.
Yes.
That would allow anybody to throw in small, cups, papers, and things of that nature.
That was my intention.
Okay. All right. That is all that I have for him right now. I don't know if the board has any questions.
Is
for
that
him.
microphone on?
I think it is.
Yeah, you gotta just put it up. You just got to keep
Yeah,
it
you
up.
just have to keep it really close to your mouth. I'm
I'm
sorry.
Okay.
I don't know if you have any questions for him.
I
other than-
have a couple of questions. Who is going to maintain the whole site?
I will.
So you will keep an eye on all the people who,
Yes, I will.
Rent
I'm
from you.
there. I'm there every day.
okay, how many businesses do you anticipate having? You have two sections. Will it be two businesses? Will you have multiple businesses?
I don't know at this time. I have a large piece of property there and I can section off.
I think, and he can allow me to do that, and he can confirm it or deny it, but in the sense that we don't know right this minute. If we get one person in the one section and says, hey, we want to take the entire section, then he's going to rent it out to the one person. So in theory, we can have two. We could have four because someone might want half and the other half. Outside of that, it gets a little bit more cumbersome, and that's why we're trying to keep it into an area where we can deal with it and manage it, because he's got to manage that and take care of it. So I don't want to say to you, oh, it's only going to be one over here and one over there, because there potentially could be 4 or even 6. You could probably break it up into thirds.
So, Mr. LaFredo, might help us understand this. Whether it's 1 tenant or 16 tenants, at some point in time, who's responsible to make sure that they have access, parking areas, safe routes into and out of the site? In other words, my concern, and I promise I'm not trying to beat your client up, but we have a site plan for a blank stone area. If we have, once we get past 2 people, that's more than 1 per entrance. Now, all of a sudden, if there's a fire, how do I fight the fire? Because this guy's got a fenced-in area and this gal's got a fenced-in area, and so.
No. I think you're jumping to one conclusion that we're not in. When they come in, we're not fencing off the areas that they're in. There's 2 fenced areas right now, and the one is wide open and the other one is open. One you enter in, I believe it's Enniston Avenue. The other one you enter in on Sterling Avenue. So those would be the only 2 entrances. And to the extent that my client would be putting in some sort of a lock and probably something that has a combination of sorts, those individuals would be able to access into that. We have, again, it's stone, so it's a little bit difficult. We certainly will, and I'll let the engineers and the planner talk about that a little bit more, about maintaining stuff. Because yes, you are correct. We have to maintain an area for them to get in. We have to maintain an area for them to get out, which means when we're setting up these leases and where they're going, we have to designate that specifically and put them in a corner here or in a corner over there so that there's an opening in and out.
But understand now, you've asked this board to transfer the responsibility for site plan for that area to your client.
To some degree, we're trying to put down a plan, and we're going to try and work that plan out. But if I had something specific for you to say, as I said, if here the way we're putting the trailers in, I understand your point.
And I understand the highest and best use of the property. I'm not debating that. There's a concern, you're here for a use variance application, but we're really not going to discuss the site plan because it's based upon the tenant you're going to get.
A part of that is correct, and that may be a discussion that when the technical engineer and planner come up, that may be more of a discussion that they're going to have for that, and to address that issue and to set up a plan that works.
Well, I think we're getting ahead of ourselves. I mean, you're taking possibility 4 or 5 businesses. Some of them will be on one of those 2 areas, or there may be 3 or 4 on some of those areas. They won't even be separate from each other. They're going to commingle. I mean, if you're going to have repos, then you may have a tractor trailer mixed in with them. I mean, how do we make a decision based on that?
I don't know if the board has to make a decision as to whether I have cars and trailers in one area, as opposed to what I think is being raised as a plan that allows access in, out, and how you're going to put these spots. So for instance, if there's an area and there may be a discussion about that, hey, we're not going to have any trailers in the back end, and we're only going to have trailers in the front end, and we're going to put them this way, and here's how they're going to get in, and here's how they're going to get out. And that will be a plan that's set out for a site plan that you can work with, look at, and enforce if need be.
So, through Chair, just to clarify something here, I'm hearing from you a couple times what we're not going to do, as Mr. Peters so eloquently said. What will you do? It sounds to me like all you're asking for is for vehicular storage on this lot. Is that correct?
Vehicles, heavier equipment, and storage facilities like a storage.
So it's motor
container.
vehicles.
And motor vehicles, yeah.
So are we stipulating that it's specifically for that and nothing else? Because that's what it sounds like you're
Well, it
telling
can't
me.
be just
It's just
motor-
instead of, going through each and every last detail of what we're not gonna do, it sounds like just ask what you want to do.
But your storage containers, they're not motor vehicles, they're storage containers. So, and we did say that. We've always said that there's storage containers that can be put there as well.
So what I understand, and to Mr. Peters' point earlier, I know that you'll be putting up other witnesses, but my understanding on what you've said thus far is that you're looking for an approval that would allow you to lease to a third-party vendor for machinery and/or vehicles and/or trailer service, storage.
Yes.
Okay, so then to the other point is, the general application that we get here does have a site plan. As Mr. Peters was saying very clearly, the board does want to see a clear plan to make sure that it's safe, that, vehicles of larger size, smaller, that shouldn't be the rush hour game. You got to pull in and pull out and maneuver, one way or the other to be able to get out. I understand that for the applicant, they want it to be safe and all, but part of this application should be a clear delineation of this area is for this area is for that. We know that clearly, emergency services can get in case of an emergency. So I think this, in my opinion, it sounds as of now very general. I think we need to get a lot more specific for a site plan.
And I would let that also come with our engineer and planner. They have may more of the technical aspects, and they may have more of an answer for that than I do personally.
Okay,
Thank you.
let me ask you something. I'm sorry. Let me just ask you, are you asking for a bifurcated application? Do you want a use variant, asking for a use variance today and then come back with a site plan? Is that what you're asking for?
No,
We didn't ask that, and I would let that be more for the technical aspects of the engineer and the planner of what they're planning. and
Because
putting
you are
forth.
also asking for an amended site plan.
Yes,
approval.
there's an amended site plan as well, yes.
Well, we just hear your professionals, and I don't
I
know
will
if
bring them on.
anybody has-
That's why I said, I just wanted to know if anybody had a question for my client that was not technical in nature.
Not at this time, though. If we have
Understood.
some later, hopefully Mr. Hughes would be willing to return.
Understood. So then I would bring up the two professionals. I'll have them both sworn in if and their qualifications put on the record, and then if acceptable, have them both sworn in.
Okay. Yeah. Could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll give this board will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
And you, sir? Okay,
Yes, I do.
and just for ease, if we could have one of the professionals put your name and credentials on the record at a time.
I believe you're going to testify first, and how about I put my name and credentials on the record when I'm going to
Can
go?
you-
Okay.
Could you speak into the microphone?
Yes, my name is Barbara. I'll be presenting the planning testimony, but I was going to let the engineer introduce himself, his qualifications, and then when I come up to testify, I'll go through my qualifications.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Lino Di Almeida. I'm a professional engineer in the state of New Jersey.
100% can't hear anything you're saying.
My name is Lino Di Almeida. I'm a professional engineer in the state of New Jersey. I've been a professional engineer since 2012. I have a bachelor's degree from NJIT. And I've been before several different boards, Wall Township, Manchester, Point Pleasant, Brielle, Manasquan. Are there any other credentials you'd be interested in hearing?
Or do you accept these credentials?
Yeah, I do, yes.
Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Lino so he can go through any of the technical engineering aspects of this project, as well as answer any of the technical questions.
Thank you. I'll be using Mr. Romar's very detailed technical review letter as a basis for my testimony. The property is located in the I industrial zone. It is approximately 2.3 acres. It's bounded by Faraday Avenue, to the east, Sterling Ave to the north, Edison Avenue to the west, and a commercial property and some vacant wooded land to the south. With regards to bulk zoning criteria, the site is mostly compliant. Minimum lot size, lot frontage, lot width, lot depth, side, rear, and accessory yard setbacks, building height, building coverage, and impervious coverage are all compliant. There is a de minimis existing front yard setback of 98.7 feet, where 100 feet is required. Proposed improvements include grading, installing of a gravel parking surface, stormwater improvements, perimeter fencing, site lighting, gate access along Sterling and Edison Avenues, installation of additional parking spots, including an ADA compliant parking spot. The intent is to create two separate fenced gravel areas of approximately 16,700 square feet each, leased for the storage of vehicles, equipment, containers, and/or trailers. No bulk materials, no stacked containers, no hazardous materials, and no subleases. Prior to the submission of the application, the owner obtained a permit to clear the property. He also installed the gravel parking surface and the fence. He was unaware that approvals to install the fence and gravel surface were required. These are the reasons for the noted discrepancies on Mr. Romeyer's letter as they relate to the survey information. It is understood that if the board were to decide favorably on this application, that the owner will remediate the improvements to the satisfaction of the engineer and the board. The applicant agrees to obtain all required outside agency approvals. No encroachments to adjacent properties are proposed. The applicant shall remove any improvements, including fencing, that may have been installed off-site. The applicant will obtain a road opening permit for work along Edison Avenues and Sterling Avenues where required. There are several design waivers that we are requesting. The previous resolutions were mentioned by my colleague. These are similar waivers that were granted with those applications. No concrete aprons are proposed along either Sterling or Edison Avenues. Since both streets and the proposed parking areas are gravel and unpaved, we believe a concrete apron would be unnecessary. On-site curbing, applicant seeks a waiver for this. With regards to paving, the gravel areas are for employees only, and the proposed lease storage areas are not open to the public. If a design waiver is required, we will seek this, but we don't believe it is. Gravel areas shall be limited to the interior fenced areas and driveway access. All other areas shall be grass or plantings. We've inspected the gravel parking area that has previously been installed, and we believe it to be adequate. The applicant would conduct a proof roll if the board deemed it necessary for observation by a township engineer or inspector. It is the responsibility of the applicant and owner to manage the property and enforce the maintenance of the site, including proper access throughout the site. With regards to site parking, sufficient parking has been provided based upon the criteria. Improvements include a compliant ADA parking spot and 4 additional spots. No EV parking spots are proposed with the application. A waiver is requested for this. Off-site curbing and sidewalk, none is proposed. A waiver is requested due to the unpaved condition of the adjacent Sterling and Edison Avenues. With regards to solid waste storage, my colleague here mentioned containers within the site. There is an existing refuse container along Sterling Avenue. It's on the exterior side of the proposed fence. It's currently used by the employees of the plumbing business. It would also be available for tenant usage. Proposed stormwater management improvements include a small-scale bioretention basin and grading. The engineer has provided several comments related to the preparation of the report. The applicant will revise the stormwater report as required to the satisfaction of the engineer as a condition of approval. No street improvements are proposed as part of this application. The proposed use will not result in heavy vehicular traffic in excess of what currently exists. The applicant anticipates sporadic or occasional access to the site by these tenants. Access to each leased space by the tenants will be via locked gate, which was previously mentioned. There is no loading or unloading permitted off-site, which will reduce any negative impacts to surrounding traffic flows. Tenants shall maintain a clear drive aisle for the site for emergency personnel access at all times. This is noted on our site plan by a hatched area. These requirements will be listed on signage and posted on each gate. There's a detail of those requirements in the sign on our site plan. Mr. Romeyer's letter has several specific comments regarding various site plan drawings. I'll go through those now. Site plan. Footing details shall be amended to indicate 4,500 PSI concrete. Site plan shall be amended to indicate site triangle easements. Site plan shall be amended to indicate parking space dimensions and other dimensions necessary. Site plan shall be amended to indicate material and cross-section of the parking lot. Grading plan. Stormwater shall be directed towards the proposed rain garden. Plan shall be amended accordingly. The plan and the stormwater report shall be amended to demonstrate separation from other improvements. The plan shall be amended to indicate rain garden plantings. Lighting plan. The plan has been revised to include 3 light poles and a building-mounted floodlight. Mr. Romeyer's letter indicates the change of the type of floodlight. However, to meet the minimum lighting requirements, we had to include 3 pole mounted lights. Plan shall be amended to show fixture characteristics and note the dusk to dawn operation. Landscaping plan. Plan shall be amended to indicate site triangle easements and all obstructions to be removed. Plan shall be amended to indicate the rain garden, Sterling Avenue, and Edison Avenue plantings. And the survey shall be updated accurately to show the existing tree line. All tree removal shall be noted on the plan and comply with ordinance. Further, we take no exception to the remaining conditions of approval that are listed in section E of the letter.
Romeyer, comments?
So in my opinion, there are a lot of revisions still needed for the plan to really demonstrate how the site will operate. And based off of the numerous requested waivers, I would say we should discuss each one. I don't recommend that all the waivers be granted. And for example, even the EV parking is not something this board could grant. That's a state requirement. So as far as amended, go ahead.
Oh, if you don't mind, if the board, if the EV parking is required, I'm sure the applicant would comply with that requirement.
Okay. So if we could just go through each of the design waivers you requested, I'd like to put a little dialogue on each one. Can you just go through and relist the design waivers, please?
Yes. On-site curbing.
So what is the reason for that request?
We don't believe that the curb would be necessary within everything's delineated by the proposed fence.
While the area may be delineated, how does the drainage work within the fenced areas?
The property is graded somewhat to the south, and it will be regraded to move all the stormwater to the rain garden, which runs along the entire southerly portion of the proposed improvement.
And what about vehicles that may leak on the gravel areas?
I think we'd have the same issue if it was paved. Those oils or gas would still end up in some type of stormwater retention structure.
Well, if it's gravel, I would say it would likely just go into the ground, where if it was impervious like pavement, you'd have a chance to collect it in a designated area like an oil separator. I think that would be a better design from an environmental standpoint to capture any kind of environmental concern that could fall in that area.
I understand. I agree with that to a certain extent. However, we're trying to avoid adding a lot of impervious surface to the area.
Well, once the gravel's compacted and driven on, I would say it's basically considered impervious at that point. From an NJDEP stormwater perspective, it is considered impervious drivable surface. While but it still may let through some amount of water. It's in the DEP's eyes, it still is considered impervious.
But then wouldn't these oils not leach into the ground then? If we consider it impervious, then it should be impervious, and those items would end up in the rain garden.
I would say leaking fluids could still make it through portions of the gravel area. However, the DEP still calls it regulated motor vehicle surface. So again, I would recommend, at least if you're going to park contractor vehicles or construction equipment, I would consider having the area properly either paved, HMA, or concrete would be my recommendation, to properly capture any runoff and treat it. So that was the first waiver request, if we want to keep moving.
Aprons along the access drives.
So if you're pulling in large vehicles, it helps with safety, pulling in and out, so the car's tires wouldn't spin on rocks or kick up any rocks. I think the concrete apron would be appropriate.
Understood. I thought it would not be necessary given the gravel driveway, gravel parking lot, and gravel stone roadway.
Okay.
So, and previous approvals from resolutions in 1983 and 2011 granted waivers for all these items.
Right, but this is now, you're seeking a more intense use of the property. You're proposing to have vehicles come down these side streets, and one of the other recommendations was that the road were made more safe and improved to the township standards. Can you describe the current condition of the gravel roadways, Sterling and Edison?
They're pretty poor. My colleague will speak about the surrounding use and those businesses to a further extent.
Okay. So if you want to continue down on the requested waivers, we'll just go through those.
Off-site curbing and sidewalk.
So typically that is an ordinance requirement. All frontages require curb and sidewalk, or you would seek a waiver from constructing them if the board feels it's appropriate and make a payment in lieu of curb and sidewalk. So that would be up to the board's discretion.
Understood.
Are there any sidewalks or curb within the area of the project?
No.
Okay. So how would you like to handle that? Would you request payment in lieu?
I would defer to the client if you don't mind.
Okay. You can get back to us with that request.
I think that goes through all the waivers.
Okay, and just to touch on again, the roadway itself, while it's not part of the property, it's directly adjacent to the property which you're proposing traffic to enter and exit your site, and it would be, in my opinion, appropriate to improve the roadway to to the township code, township standards, along the property frontage for Sterling and Edison.
I would like to confer with my client to see if
Okay.
he'd be open to that.
All right. And then from an engineering standpoint, just, I know you mentioned you indicate a drive aisle to maintain clear access in the fenced-in areas. I think that's a good idea. You said it would really just be delineated or described on a sign. Is there any way you would propose to delineate that just to make sure it's kept clear and safe, so it's not the township's responsibility to come in and check that it's clear? Any markings that could be placed, pavement or striping or something placed in the stone, perhaps?
I think we'd be open to that. We would like the flexibility to be able to reconfigure the storage and the parking as needed. So
It's
We
just
could-
difficult for the board to make a decision, and me as the board engineer to be okay from a circulation standpoint, and of course, fire safety. The fire department would like to comment on that as well, I'm sure. Have
course.
you reached out to the fire official?
no, we have not. However,
Yeah.
we could perhaps stipulate a 20-foot drive aisle, one way or the other from the entrance as needed.
Okay. And then I would suggest for the areas you would propose parking vehicles, some more dimensions shown on the plan. And if it's 9 by 18 for passenger vehicles or larger spaces, just so the board could see how many we're talking. Do you have that number by any chance? How many passenger vehicles you could fit if you used both areas?
I don't have that on me. I could approximate that if I can get back to you in the next, after my colleague testifies, perhaps.
Okay. That's all I have at this time.
With the sound here, it was hard to hear some of the things that were said. The water runoff, what did you propose and what did the applicant accept?
I suggested an impervious surface such as HMA, hot mix asphalt pavement, or concrete that would allow any fluids or drippings from the vehicles parked to not drain into the ground, and then it be captured in some type of oil separator. And the applicant said he would review that with the client.
Okay, so that's almost like curbing that separates all the water and oil.
It would be a barrier, so none of those
barrier,
fluids would go directly into the ground.
I think that would be a good idea. Any place where there's gravel, I think the heavy equipment is just going to rip it up and move it away, and you're going to run into a problem there. And the storage containers, what is going to be stored in these containers?
That I don't know. I would defer to my client.
Can't hear. Could you
I would
speak?
defer to my client to answer that question.
Okay. Also, do you anticipate truck traffic coming to the containers to load and unload? And how often would that occur?
I'd like to defer to my client to answer that question.
Okay.
Thank you. The engineer recommends putting in an apron. I think that would make a lot of sense to me. If you request a waiver for sidewalking, I mean, if you put the sidewalking in, then you would have that apron. I do think that it makes sense, especially because you don't know what type of vehicles are going to be entering and exiting this area. And we haven't heard from you definitively what type of impervious you will be putting down there, but if it's gravel, then it would definitely prevent some of that gravel from getting into the street. The other point is, the engineer said that it's required to have an EV parking spot. I think that needs to be put onto the plan, the location of it. The board generally, or the fire official generally says it has to be furthest away from the building as possible. So I think for many reasons, we need to see a better plan here so we can act upon it.
Are the two streets, Edison and Sterling, are they paved or are they gravel streets? I don't recall.
Those streets are unpaved.
I'm sorry?
Those streets are unpaved. There's
Unpaved.
no curb, there's no sidewalk. They're just dirt and gravel.
And,
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
to Mr. Dalmida, do you have an idea of how wide Sterling and Edison are currently?
I believe they're in the range of 25 to 30 feet. I think there's a comment in the engineer's letter that identifies that.
Because Mr. Schemmel's survey shows some areas where, quite frankly, it's not very wide. And there is an ordinance requirement that says if you're going to develop the property, you have to bring it up to some standard. So if this were a substandard right-of-way, we'd ask them for right-of-way dedication. In this particular instance, they're requesting waivers of curb and sidewalk. However, that doesn't mean the town's not entitled to get the road widened, or in lieu of that, some trade-off. And in this instance, there should probably be some testimony about what the intensity of the increase in intensity of the roads are going to be, and should they warrant some improvements in order to do so. Because while I don't think the board or the ordinance says that it's this applicant and this applicant only responsibility to bring this up to township code, there is a requirement that when you utilize your property to bring the roads up to a certain standard. So respectfully, when Mr. Hughes started and Faraday was the main drag, he did his job over there and put a side street in. And then at some point, Edison probably got developed. I don't know the history of how Sterling came to be, but at this point in time, it would appear that for the users of the applicant's property, they'd probably come in Faraday, go down Sterling, because that's where one of the entrances is, to get to Edison. So our question is should Sterling at a minimum and perhaps Edison be brought up to some minimum standard so you can bring in the uses that they're proposing? Heavy equipment, tractor trailers, storage units, those sorts of things. I'm not saying that they need to pave the road, but if it's inconsistent because it just got built as it went along, like much of the industrial park did over the last 30 years, then perhaps there's a conversation to be had, whether it's with this board or with the town engineer, to say what minimum standard should Sterling be brought up to in order to utilize for the proposed purposes intended the rear section of the property.
so that could possibly be the township has to do the improvement to the road.
They're not responsible as the applicant before us tonight, whether a use variance or a site plan, to fix everything. Okay, if this site were vacant and they didn't have, and the road wasn't built and they wanted to utilize Sterling as a road, then they'd have to bring it up to some standards, and that's in the design standards for the town. In this particular case, they are required to provide road widening if necessary. So certainly, if Sterling Avenue isn't up to the minimum township design standards for this type of road, we haven't heard any testimony regarding that, it shouldn't be the responsibility of the taxpayers of Jackson Township to make sure that this road gets maintained. They're going to increase the intensity of the use of the property, they should provide the access to it. So I don't have the answers, I just have the questions.
Right, and I think, I'm sorry.
So it's just basically at the access points where their responsibility would be. Okay, so they may have to put concrete aprons down or whatever too.
Well, and
Yeah,
also
yeah.
on the frontage, depending on the kind of use. I think this goes to the difficulty. There was some testimony from the engineer. They're not anticipating a higher intensity of use, but the problem is you don't really know what use it is. So if you have, I think the question had come, if you have containers that are being, filled, if you've got, somebody who's storing materials in a trailer, depending on these different uses that have been discussed, that could influence the intensity of the use. So the board is having to assume that of the uses you've anticipated, that it's going to be the most intense of those uses.
So in other words, we would basically have to know just about how many trailers or containers you'll have, what the size is, whether they'll be opened or closed all around, and would they be in set places and et cetera.
Mr. Chair, over here. So my thought is about safety. If the applicant's gonna lease out the rear portion of the lot and there's then gonna be businesses and employees driving all the way down these roads, you wanna make sure it's wide enough, it's stable, and it's a public right of way. So that was my thought.
So in this case, if the township comes in or the town engineer comes in, he would have to have some kind of plan to present to let us know what's happening.
Well, the township code specifies what is required.
Right, so no, to Mr. Peters' point, what the standards would have to be would be established, but also, as he stated, it would not be up to the township to improve the road at this juncture. If there's going to be an intensity of use, make sure that the access is sufficient and safe. And that is on the applicant that's proposing the increased use.
Buddy? Okay, could we hear your next witness, please?
Oh, okay.
If the board pleases, can I just have a 5-minute break? Is that
Sorry.
okay?
If he wants a 5-minute break.
Okay, sure.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we will have a 5-minute break.
Yes, we have some input. I had some conversation with Mr. Lafredo. I believe he has a request to make of the board.
What we did talk about, we discussed about bifurcating this. That would at least allow us to develop more a site plan for you to actually vote upon. But we would deal with everything else and go from there and come back on another day with an actual site plan set up. We will, and it will be discussed, we will, in our plan, we will limit the area to only 3 or no more than 3 tenants. That way it'll help out in that regard. But that was my request and that was my discussion with Ms. Cipriani.
That sounds good. That's what I thought you would, that's what I thought you were going to do when we first got started. Just think that you're putting it on the board to make a lot of decisions that you should be making.
I would say you're a chess player because you were at least 3 moves ahead of me.
Okay, well,
So in the request for the bifurcation, what you're requesting, I believe today, is it will take some planning testimony that is simply the use variance. And that use variance, as I understand it, because of the lack of specificity on the site plan side of what is anticipated, is simply you are asking the board to grant a use variance allowing for a section of the property to be used for rental to third parties.
Correct.
How do we know the intensity of that?
So there would be, I mean, and I think it would be clear if the board were inclined to grant the use variance, that there is no determination being made on intensity. There's no ability to use that pending a specific site plan.
Correct. I would have
Because,
no-
and the improvements there that are there currently were installed illegally, and that area cannot be used on that basis until approved by site plan.
Yeah, that would be fine.
and if we're doing a use variance, we limit it to 3 tenants.
Yes. So, and I'm sorry, we got to the swearing in, but we don't know who is sworn in.
Yes. Good evening. My name is Barbara Allen. My last name is Ehlen. I'm a licensed professional planner in the state of New Jersey and an AICP. I've been accepted as a planner throughout the state of New Jersey, including before Jackson before.
Can you hold the mic? a
Yes,
little
if you'd like to be
I'm
accepted by
sorry.
Jackson again, we need to be able to hear you.
Okay. Should I start over? So I am a licensed professional planner and AICP. I've been accepted throughout the state of New Jersey as a professional planner and currently serve as the board planner for the Township of Livingston and the Borough of Freehold.
Do we accept the credentials?
I accept you.
Credentials are accepted.
Thank you. If you'd like, give me a second, I would just like to hand out. Sure. Yes. So I'm handing out a packet of an aerial and several property photos. The aerial was prepared by myself and the photos as well. I know the photos contain an older date, but I have visited the site since then, and the photos are still an accurate representation of the.
I'm sorry, was this exhibit, was this previously?
No, it was not.
Actually, I would have liked you to have put it in previously. That's what I would have liked.
So it would be, I propose it as a packet prepared by Beacon Planning. The first photo, the first page being an aerial, and subsequent photos being property photos.
Yeah, if the board wants to consider, I don't want to limit your testimony, especially through bifurcation, but just know for this board that we don't take exhibits on the fly. Normally, the exhibits have to be submitted prior to the testimony so that they can be given for the board to consider, and we can put them up on the screen.
I completely
and
understand.
all those things. So
I completely understand. So the application this evening is for the subject property at 280 Faraday Avenue. On the cover of the aerial, the property is outlined in yellow. The subject property is situated within the I Industrial District, which permits contractor office, showroom, garage, warehouse, shop, light manufacturing, medical and dental laboratory, warehousing, wholesaling and distribution, contractors or craftsman shop or equipment storage area, fabrication of products, wholesale building materials, supply yards, yards of contractors and the construction and building trades. So industrial uses. And what is noted about these uses is that outdoor storage is specifically permitted. So the use variance part of this is actually the fact that it's not the contractor using the outdoor storage or the owner of the property here. He is seeking to let third parties onto the site. So although this is a use variance, the use is anticipated within this zone. And so are the other impacts associated with it, such as truck traffic, equipment storage, material storage, things of that nature. So as I go through my testimony, I just want to outline that the actual utilization of the property is anticipated within this district. It is just who is using it that triggers the use variance. So the subject property is within the industrial area and is surrounded by other commercial and industrial uses. Across Sterling Avenue is wooded area, but followed by that is what's described as a pavement maintenance, so like pavement sweeping, things of that nature. And then if you look to the top left of the property, that's actually a waste hauling. So while I was visiting the property, there are actually multiple trucks coming down Sterling Avenue and using that road to access the other industrial uses. The property is unique in the fact that it maintains 3 roadway frontages, Faraday, Sterling, and Edison. And this actually works to the advantage of the proposed use. In this instance, visitors to the plumbing contractor access the site along Faraday Avenue. And those that are seeking, as we are seeking, for those storage areas in the back will bypass that Faraday entrance and go down along Sterling and along Edison. So it effectively separates the traffic. Passenger vehicles will go onto the paved parking lot along the front of the building and will not have to intermingle with any storage of vehicles or any trucks going to the rear area. And nor will any trucks have to go through the Faraday parking lot for regular vehicles in order to access those storage areas. So in this instance, usually corner lots that have 3 frontages, it's usually considered a pretty large impediment. But in this instance, it actually works favorably towards this type of use because it allows separate entrances into different storage areas without one having to cross into the other. Before I go deeper into what would be my testimony for the use variance, I do like to go through the community's master plan and ordinances. I note that the 2009 land use element of the Jackson Master Plan stated goals and objectives include to direct growth into areas suited for land development and away from areas appropriate for resource protection. So this area is specifically envisioned for this type of use. And not only that, is that it presents an opportunity to pull these types of landscape or trailers or things like that out of residential areas or out of people bringing equipment home because they don't have a place to put it. Or in the instance of the waste hauler across the way, regular vehicles being parked along roadways that need that width. And so it pulls a nuisance off of the adjoining roadways and into a controlled area. To provide economic development opportunities in areas that are well suited for for such development that would increase the local employment opportunities and improve the rateable base of the township. Again, this presents an opportunity not only to support this existing business that has half a property that is vacant, but it allows other businesses that need that space to have it possibly in close proximity to where their operations are. For example, the waste hauler, if they need parking, now those employees are getting, the parking is getting pulled off the small, or no, I shouldn't say small, but the dirt roadways onto a site. And so you're supporting their operations and you're supporting the plumber's site as well. So it can be a co-beneficiary. To provide for commercial development to serve both local and regional needs commensurate with the demands of the market and based on both reliable and innovative market strategies. Again, this is responding to demands that are in the community, that is requesting space to put this type of equipment. Within the land use element, it states industrial development in the township is relatively low, as well as the associated employment opportunities. Efforts are needed to establish a diversity of districts suitable for employment generating development and to promote the development of these districts to achieve a broader economic base. Again, allowing the site to be used as a storage area for a third party, it supports other businesses within the community and it expands the utilization of this property. So this property is envisioned for this type of use, envisioned for storage. It's just envisioned for storage that's associated with the property owner and not a third party. We can also look to the municipal land use law for special reasons. I would opine G, to provide sufficient space in appropriate locations for a variety of agricultural, residential, recreational, commercial, and industrial uses. So the community has already determined that this is an industrial zone and that outdoor storage of equipment, materials, vehicles is appropriate for this area. And so that is what is being proposed for this site. And M, to encourage coordination of the various public and private procedures and activities shaping land development with a view of lessening the cost of such development and to the more efficient use of land. So this property exists and is developed. However, the person, the plumber, the applicant, doesn't need the full size of this property for their operations. They have the place to put their trucks, they have the place to store their equipment and materials, and they have their showroom. And so it effectively leaves half a property, an industrial area, vacant. And so as it's available, it presents a unique opportunity to bring it back into productivity and service the community as well as in a way that supports other businesses and pulls vehicles that we don't want stored on the road or stored in residential areas into a place that can accommodate them. When we looked for a use variance, it's the Medici criteria. I'm sure that you're all very familiar, but in this instance, I would opine that the application, that the site is particularly suitable for the proposed use. To reaffirm, as I've testified, that it is an industrial district that anticipates outdoor storage of equipment and materials. The requested use variance is to permit outdoor storage, just not associated with the property owner at this time. The property is in an area typified by truck traffic, so any additional traffic that is generated by the storage is not actually, I know there are concerns that's an intensification of it, but it's actually a use that's anticipated. So any traffic that is generated by this is anticipated within this district. It would be no different than if he was a more of a general contractor and he had a storage of his equipment, but his equipment needs to utilize the full site. So it's the same type of traffic, it's just who is generating the traffic, I should say. So the site itself, as I've stated, existing development is already skewed towards one side. So it's not as if, although the applicant needs to remove buildings or remove anything, this is just open space that can be utilized to support other businesses. And as I said, as it contains 3 frontages, all the different spaces can be accessed separately. And so there'll be a maximum of 3 tenants, and each one will have its own access into a storage area. With respect to substantial detriment, I do not see any. With respect to the use, I know that site plan will come separately as we've requested this be a bifurcated application, and the applicant would have to address the engineering comments at that time. But with respect to noise, traffic, and trash, again, these are all anticipated within this district. This is not an exacerbation or something above that which the zone was created to accommodate. Concerns regarding stormwater would also be addressed during site plan application. We must also address the Medici reconciliation, which is the reasoning behind the omission. In this instance, the use was anticipated as if not even more, as a more intense use such as a wholesale building material supply yard, which would be able to include bulk storage of materials and equipment, such as building construction supplies and equipment, vehicles, supplies of heavy equipment contractors, etc., is anticipated. It's just the ownership or who is utilizing the site that wasn't anticipated. With respect to the use, I note that your planner had pointed out that the application is that loading will be a question and whether loading is permitted in a front yard.
I'm sorry, could you?
I'm sorry. Your planner had pointed out loading within a front yard is not permitted. This would be, I would, and I know it'll come to operations, but at that time, I do note that it has 3 frontages, so loading would apply, would occur in any front yard as there isn't sufficient rear or side yard area to accommodate a loading area. And so in my opinion, I believe the site is particularly suited for the proposed use. Are there any questions that I can answer?
Yeah, through the chair. Thank you. Regarding the suitability, so I'm having a difficult time with that. You mentioned a couple of times that the applicant themselves will be able to use that full yard as they're proposing for other tenants. So while I partially agree with that, the fact that you're requesting to have additional tenants brings additional strain to the surrounding roadways, meaning currently technically the one original approval really is for the entrance to be on Faraday Avenue using the entire lot. So the egress and ingress is all from Faraday. Now you're proposing and intensifying the usage on Edison and Sterling Avenue. So to me, I'm seeing it as an intensified use, particularly with the vehicular traffic on those 2 roads. So yes, technically speaking, it was anticipated to have, let's say, X amount of traffic coming and going from this property, but not through the side roads.
Can you clarify?
Sure.
No, I understand, but you've stated that the access was always supposed to be through Faraday.
Correct.
Was there a particular, I'm sorry, I looked at the prior resolution. I did not see a stipulation.
That's because the main frontage needs to be on a improved road.
Yes.
The side roads are semi-improved.
Typically, yes, a lot is typically required to have frontage along an approved roadway. And so it actually technically has frontage along 3 roadways. I understand that Sterling and Edison are dirt roadways, but they are still, I believe, municipal roadways, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so they would be permitted to have access along those roadways.
So, yes, but there's no specific access that was ever requested, from those areas, meaning there was no driveways or entrances or exits to the property from those areas. The only place that was supposed to be accessed from was from on Faraday. Like it was said, the rest of it wasn't permitted. It was done illegally. The lot was created how?
Unfortunately, I don't understand because the other roadways are public roadways.
Correct. But do you have
And so.
access to the property from those roadways?
Yes,
Was that approved?
I don't understand why it wouldn't be.
I'm not sure that those roadways necessarily existed at the time of the approvals.
I think the
Yes.
board members' concern is that you had started out by saying that trucks are already using Sterling,
Yes,
which is a fair point, but and I'm not putting words in your mouth, but you're not in any way suggesting that these roads are safe or compliant with any design standards, just vehicles are using Sterling currently, correct?
they are using Sterling, correct? And I believe, though, it is a municipal roadway, correct?
Yes. My question to you then is, are you aware if this applicant has any approvals relating to what you refer to as the vacant portion of the site that would have or may have required him to do improvements to Sterling Avenue? So if he had an initial approval and he intensified that by taking down the trees, putting the stone down, would he have a responsibility under the land use law to improve Sterling Avenue?
I think well, wouldn't the township, having created those municipal roadways, have
The
anticipated?
town doesn't build roads for people.
But those are municipal roads.
They're municipal rights of way. When a developer comes in, gets an approval on those roads, they're developed to township standards. It's obvious that Sterling Avenue, which doesn't appear to be the main access to any of the other from your aerial, doesn't appear to be the main access to any other property.
I would disagree. It is the main access, or one of the access roads into the waste hauling use.
So
And also extends up, it appears, maybe towards the sweepers. So it would not be solely utilized by the applicant. As I visited the site, there were multiple trucks coming up and down Sterling that were not associated with the applicant.
So again, that's the reason the board was asking, are there any approvals associated with the development of the portion of the site that the applicant wants to get a use variance for?
I don't believe so.
So, if I may, and right now and I just want to make sure, right now we're in a posture where there's been a request for bifurcation for the use variance only. And I'd like to have some focus on that because obviously it's up to the board to grant or not grant the request for bifurcation. And the standard for that, as I think the board is aware, is whether it's appropriate to bifurcate because the question of the use itself can be considered fairly separate from the site plan, or if they are so intertwined that they cannot be separated out. So if you intend to proceed with the request for bifurcation, I think we need some testimony or some argument on how the board can consider the use separately from the site plan issues. Because it appears that the questioning, once again, really focuses to a high degree on the site plan issues. I don't know if the board is going to be able to consider the use question separately from the site plan, But if that is something that is being requested, and then I'd like to hear how the board could do that.
I do know the site does existingly have site access off Sterling Avenue for the applicant's outdoor storage associated with his use. So there is established.
I'm sorry, could you speak
Access.
into the mic again?
There is the applicant currently has access off of Sterling Avenue for their rear storage area. So there is existing access off that roadway.
But that access would be closest to Faraday Avenue. That access doesn't necessarily go all the way down to Edison, correct?
Interior to the site, they do have access to the rear portion, to that portion of the site.
I'm sorry, where do they have access to the rear portion of the site?
Through the side, they do have access along Sterling Avenue to their property.
Right, it's somewhere in between Faraday Avenue and Westinghouse Avenue, correct?
Yes,
So there isn't an access between Westinghouse Avenue and Edison Avenue, correct?
correct.
Thank you.
Well, it might be, it kind of, there's like a little fence that goes off.
My point is they don't have an approval for it, so you can't take credit for something that's not legal. It doesn't have an approval. So if they want to use that portion between Westinghouse and Edison, the town's entitled to ask them to improve it. You've indicated the site's vacant. The site's vacant because they took all the trees down and put stone down without an approval. So he could, in theory, subdivide the property, let someone else buy it, put up a principal use, and then put up all the parking they want. We're just turning this into a parking lot for third-party vendors.
Okay, I think we need to sort of move this along. So
I just request that the matter be carried. I think that's the easiest thing to do.
I think that Mr. Lafredo, that is a sensible request. I don't know, given the nature of the questioning, if it can be considered separately. And I think on the
understand.
site plan issue, clearly the board needs more information. So do you want it to be, I don't know what the dates are that are available. First of all, just on the record, we'll mark this document as A1. And, but please, going forward,
Absolutely,
get
understood.
those exhibits in earlier. Do you have some idea how much time you need, Mr. Lafredo?
I would ask for 3 months. That's
All
okay.
right. I don't know, Gina, are you able to give a date for 3 months hence? Just don't know what the dates are.
Okay, so all know that the next time the applicant appears before the board, they are coming just for the use variance?
I don't believe so. It appears to me that instead of, and I'm sure that we'll hear from Mr. Lafredo between now and then, but if there's a desire to pursue the bifurcation, we'll hear that. If there's an intention to submit additional documents on the site plan, I'm sure we'll hear that as well.
Things were heard from the March earlier hearing. Things are being heard now. I just need the time, and I'll go through everything with the professionals and my client, and then I would get back in touch with you.
Okay.
I actually have 2 May dates. We have May 6th, which we have 1 application on, or? Right.
Okay, what's the other date?
We have May 20th, which I'm assuming nothing's on as I don't
Let's
have
go
an agenda for it, or we have 2
May
dates in June.
20th. May 20th. And I assume that you waive the statutory time requirements?
I do way off that timeline.
All right, and that's pretty far in advance, but we will not require additional notice.
No notice?
But yes, so if you could get back to us in March on how you intend to proceed, that would be very helpful.
I truly do thank the board and the engineers and planners here for their discussion at least and entertaining us for this night. Thank you.
Thank you. I know. Yes. Yes, it wasn't given officially, but do we need a 5-minute break? Oh. Okay.
We are back.
No, that's yours. Okay, are we ready to go?
Okay, we are calling next application, 51 Progress Place LLC.
Good evening,
Al
Mr. Chair,
Fiero,
members
yes.
members of the board, Salvatore Alfieri, Cleary, Giacobi, Alfieri, and Jacobs on behalf of the applicant. This was initially presented, I believe, in December. The board raised many questions. Since that time, we made a resubmission on January 23rd. To remind the board, this property currently has an approval that it obtained in 2022 for the storage of trucks, trailers, roll-off containers, shipping containers, construction equipment, backhoes, excavators, skid steers, etc. But we're here tonight to seek approval for a mobile concrete batch plant. In our resubmission that we made in January, we attempted to address many of the comments that the board raised at that last hearing. Mr. Borden, who's going to start our testimony, will describe those changes. We do have Scott Kennel, our traffic expert, and we do have a representative for one of the owners of the proposed user, the proposed tenant or owner of the batch plant if it's approved. So we're going to ask that Mr. Borden was sworn in and qualified in December. I don't know what you want to do.
I think Mr. Borden remains under oath and acknowledges as such, I believe.
I do. Thank you.
Yeah.
You were going to say something?
Yeah, just, Mr. Alfieri, just because you had gone over what the existing approvals were from the 2022, just looking at the statement of operations, I figured let's try and clear this up right now. There's a sentence in there that says the crushed stone and sand required are approved with 2022-41, including the truck use and storage. Certainly, the truck use and storage of the trucks was approved in 2022, but are you trying to say that the sand and stone were approved then? Because I did not see that in the 2022 approval.
My recollection is that they were, but that's my recollection that included in that approval was obviously not for a concrete batch plant, but.
Well, it was an outdoor storage facility for vehicle and non-organic material.
Correct, and that would be the sand and stone, basically landscape stone, things like that. That's the
So
non-organic.
sand and
material.
stone is encompassed within that idea of non-organic material?
That's correct. It went along the premise of being available for lease for contractors.
Organic material being mulch?
Non-organic material.
No, I understand that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
organic would
okay.
be mulch, yes.
So anything other than mulch you're saying is approved?
I thought you said it was approved for non-organic.
Correct.
Yes, that's correct.
Right.
It's not approved for mulch,
Okay.
and we're not proposing mulch.
Okay.
So, Mr. Borden,
Pardon me, we all seem to be skipping, just looking at resolution. On page 2 of 6 of the approving resolution, Mr. O'Connell indicated there will be storage of sand and gravel, but no organic material such as mulch, topsoil, or lumber may be stored at the site.
Mr. Borden, I know you submitted certain exhibits in advance. You did provide extensive testimony at the last meeting, but let's focus on, first orient the board for those members who weren't here and they didn't see the exhibit, but then let's focus on the changes that were made since the last meeting.
A brief orientation. There's 8 exhibits that I provided, pre-marked A1 through A8. They're on the screen as well. A1 through A3 were presented at the December 17th meeting. A1 is an aerial of the site marked in yellow with the surrounding uses shown, or the buildings and zone. The property is located along Progress Place, which is a small industrial road. It's in the LM zone. It's located on the west side of Whitesville Road, which is on the right side of the exhibit A1, just north of 195, which is shown going left to right on the bottom, north being to the top of the page. Property is 4.9 acres, has significant areas of wetlands in the central and rear portion. Those wetlands were granted a LOI, a letter of interpretation, by the DEP in 2023 as part of the original site plan. The surrounding properties are all zoned LM, light manufacturing, industrial zone, and are primarily developed with warehousing across the street and to our west, and to our east is the Township Park and Ride facility. There's no residential uses adjacent to the property nor within 200 feet. And all the surrounding properties are zoned the same as the site, which is the LM again. And then A2 is the variance plan that we presented at the December 17th hearing. We had the approved plan on the left. The site has been approved, as we had just discussed, and has been constructed. And then on the right was, for a comparison, was what we were proposing, which was the mobile concrete batch plan in the center of the site. We have refined this with additional site plan details, which will be a subsequent exhibit. Exhibit A3 is some details of the batch plant specifications and the pictures of it. And then we'll go into the new exhibits. We'll start with some photographs of the site, and these are provided because we were asked to do so by the planner's review dated January 30th. I think that was a very good suggestion, so we provided those. And we have 3 pictures, which are A4, 5, and 6. A4 is basically just an enlargement of the aerial. So here you have Progress Place along the bottom. You see our driveway. You can see the fence that surrounds the property and the compacted gravel surface that forms the approved storage area. And then we have the next one, please, Anthony, which is a view from the street looking up the driveway. You can see the fence across the driveway, the gate, as well as the stormwater basin on the front right with some landscaping. And then the next one, please, Anthony, A6. And this is just a view from inside the fence looking across the gravel.
And Mr. Borden, those pictures accurately depict the current condition of the property?
That's correct. And then we move into the work that we did subsequent to the December 17th meeting, which is the plans that we submitted on January 23rd. If you go to A7, please, Anthony. We were asked at the December 17th meeting, to provide additional site plan details. Recall that Exhibit A2, we simply showed the batch plant. We didn't show any other details, so we've tried to fill them out. And just to briefly describe, we also submitted a statement of operations dated January 22nd as part of the January 23rd submittal. I'm going to refer to that because the statement includes information that was testified to as far as the operation at the December 17th meeting. For example, there's anticipated to be 4 employees at the site during normal hours of operation. Questions raised at the December 17th meeting is where will those employees park and where will they be during the day? So we have on the approved plan, if you don't mind, Anthony, you could enlarge this, maybe zoom in a little bit. The existing approved site had these parking spaces on the eastern part of the site facing Progress. Progress is here. This is the main access, and then this parking spaces. So the 4 employees would park in these existing parking spaces, and we've showed the location of a portable office trailer that will be used by the on-site employees. We also discussed at the December hearing about the fact that there will be not more than 5 truck drivers that would arrive in their personal vehicles at the site and then drive. There will be a truck parked at the site for each of them, and they would use that truck during the day to deliver concrete to and from the site. And zoom in again, Anthony, just zoom in on this portion. And here we have, again, existing spaces already approved and constructed of 14 car truck parking spaces. So that's sufficient room for those 5 employees to park their cars. And then the 5 trucks will be staged. So the 5 cars will stay during the day, and the 5 trucks will then be used during operations for the day's work.
So I'm sorry, Mr. Warden, I had to add as a condition, I just want to make sure we're on the same page, that there's going to be a maximum of 5 trucks parked on the site at any given time. Is that correct?
That's correct. It was approved, obviously, for 14, but we're proposing 5 trucks.
Yes,
with-
but you
with the
don't
5
want to
employees.
proceed under the existing approval. That's
I
my
understand.
understanding.
I understand. So what we did, so again, what we showed is the office trailer, obviously the batch plant we had shown. We showed the location of some storage for the sand and the materials. And then the next sheet, there was 2 sheets that we submitted on the 23rd of January. And the second sheet has information that was shown on the previous variance plan, but it adds it to the site plan, which is the turning movements of the trucks to be able to come in, drive around the batch plant, and then exit the site. All exiting Progress Place as a dead-end road, so the Whitesville Road is to the top of this exhibit. So all the trucks would come in and go out to Whitesville.
Mr. Borden's going to reserve his variance testimony until after the other witnesses testify because he needs their foundational testimony, but we're going to at least finish with the site details, and then he'll come back after that.
Right, should I go over these site details, manager's
Yeah.
report now? Yes. I'd like to address quickly, again, before the variance I'll return back for on the, but I'll identify some of those now because the planner's review letter dated January 30th offers some insight into that I want to go over. Plus, it asks for testimony on some of these items. I'm just kind of working through skipping through the pages of the letter to highlighted points that I made in the letter. On page 4 of the planner's report, there's a citation of the ordinance noted of 210-83 talking about temporary structures, stating that they can be erected for a period of not to exceed 180 days, and asking for our intentions with regard to the length of time the structures will be on site. These structures are intended to be permanent. I suspect that we're conflating, and I did the same thing, we're conflating portability with permanency. In other words, both the office trailer and the concrete plant are portable structures, but they will be placed on the site permanently. The section 218-83 is actually the flood zone statute of the town. That section 83 states that a structure within a flood zone cannot exist more than 180 days. So that doesn't apply in this case. This site is not within a floodplain. So I would state that does not apply. Moving on, there's other provisions in the LM zone performance standards that testimony is requested, and those are listed items 1 through 7. First is that a loading or unloading facilities are not allowed to be in the front yard. The front yard is 100 feet as measured from Progress Place, again on the left of the map. We are not proposing any loading or unloading facilities as part of this facility. Similarly on 2, no required off-street actually number 1 says yeah, we can't permit it in other than a public street. We're not doing that, of course. Second is the setback of 100 feet. We're not proposing any off-street loading area within 100 feet. 3 is where we butt a residential zone, there's standard supply with buffering. We are not adjacent to a residential zone, as I testified on Exhibit A1. Item 4 is that each use permitted must be serviced by a public sewage disposal system. We are proposing that as stated in the statement of operations, that the temporary or the office trailer will come with a portable facility, and it's proposed to pump that out twice a week. We had discussed in the December 17th meeting whether possibility of doing a septic system. We can certainly do a septic disposal system if the board is strongly inclined, in our opinion, given the limited use of the site by only not more than 4 employees, that pumping out the restroom tank twice per week would be more than satisfactory. Item 5, industrial activities or processes shall take place within a completely enclosed building. Incidental storage shall be shielded from any site or adjacent residential zone by fencing, landscaping, or appropriate measure. All of our industrial activity with the batch plant is shielded from the street by the existing fencing that was evident in exhibits A6 and A7, or A5 and A6.
But there's not an enclosed building.
There is no enclosed building. In this case, the process of mixing the sand into the truck is done from a tank to a truck. So,
Which we'll get to with the operation.
correct, the operator will testify to that. While not in an enclosed building, it's also not open to the air, I would argue. Item 6 talks about industrial parks. We are not an industrial park, as it states, it's not applicable. And item 7 is no use shall be conducted to discharge any treated or untreated industrial waste. There is no industrial waste generated by this project. There is some variances or potential variances identified on page 5. And I'll return for the planning testimony, but just first to place them on the record. We are proposing there's 2 principal structures on the site that we have. Both the batch plant and the trailer are principal structures. Both are required to have a 100-foot front yard setback. The batch plant is more than 100 feet. It's 102 feet from progress. The mobile office is 82 feet proposed, so that is a C variance. Attention is also made to the rear yard setback, particularly since there's a section of the conservation overlay zone, part of the ordinance, that requires setbacks to be measured from wetlands. In our case, the wetlands is this line at the edge of this hatching. That's the approved wetlands line, approved by DEP as part of the LOI in 2023, which is valid till 2028. And the setback from that wetland point to that office building is 31 feet, where the rear setback is 51 feet. And now I'll return for planning testimony on those 2 variances. The rear setback to the batch plant to the wetland is more than 50 feet. So there were also questions raised about the building coverage and impervious coverage. Building coverage permitted to be 40%. The coverage of the batch plant and mobile office trailer is less than 1%, where 40% is permitted. The maximum impervious coverage is 75%. The site was approved and developed with this impervious coverage noted on the plan, which exists, is 24%. And obviously, and we're not proposing to change that with this amended approval, so it remains at 24%. And lastly, on page 7, There's item G and H. They're asking us to address the impact of the application on a few items. One is the compatibility of the proposed use with the surrounding uses. As I noted in that Exhibit A1, Progress Place is an industrial. The entire, all properties along the road on both sides are zoned light manufacturing or light industrial. In my opinion, it is compatible with the surrounding uses, and the use being permitted is not vastly different than the use that's already approved for the site. Mitigating factors for the use variance, I believe that gets into the planning testimony that I'll provide later. I think these standards I've never seen before. They're not contained in any ordinance standard. I don't know where they come from, to be completely honest, but I'll do my best to address those. The use will not injure or detract from the use of the neighboring property. While our use has no impact on any neighboring property, because our use is self-contained with the singular driveway to Progress Place. We don't share any access. We don't negatively impact any of the surrounding properties as far as their use. Character of the neighborhood, again, it's an industrial neighborhood, the street, Progress Place. The use of the property adjacent to the area is adequately safeguarded. The existing approval has the fencing approved, and as you saw from those exhibits A5 and A6, it's already installed. Property is suitable for the intended use. That really ties into the planning testimony. Again, but it is industrial use. The use will best serve the interests of the township. I believe that again will be the planning testimony I'll show that we are consistent with the intent, purposes, and goals of the master plan and the land use ordinance and meet the positive and negative criteria. The use will not adversely affect public sewers and facilities such as water, sewer, piping, and fire protection. There is no water and sewer present out in this area of the town, no public water sewer. Fire protection, we are required to get the approval from the Bureau of Fire Prevention, so that would be a condition of any approval granted to this board. The use will not adversely affect the drainage facilities of the adjacent neighborhood. The drainage on this site is self-contained, and the drainage facilities have been constructed per the 2023 approval. I think this is a good chance to bring up something that I forgot in my site plan discussion. One of the items that we do need to add to the plan is that this site, as an industrial facility to manufacture concrete, has to comply with the NJDEP stormwater general permit requirements, what they call the GIPDs. And the conditions of that general, you obtain a general permit from the state for any site that manufactures concrete, so long as you meet a few performance standards. And the two performance standards that apply to this site that we need to add are, one is that any industrial activity must be placed on an impervious surface. Currently, the site is a stone surface. We're proposing to remain. However, the batch plant itself, being the proposed quote-unquote industrial activity, must be placed on a concrete or asphalt pad. So we're going to place that on a concrete pad. And secondly, we need to provide a washout facility for any trucks returning from a project site that has leftover cement in their truck. A washout facility is where they can dump that into a container, wash the truck. In other words, you're not just dumping that on the ground, either at the project site or at this site. And the washout facility is a way for that material to be captured. And then that material is disposed of. The container is disposed of twice a week at a recycling facility, a concrete recycling facility. Jackson Township has a approved operational concrete recycling facility on South Hope Chapel Road. So twice a week, it's basically a dumpster for cement that would be carried to the recycling facility and disposed of and recycled. I just wanted, while I was mentioning drainage, I wanted to make sure the record reflected that.
Yeah, Can I ask you, I'm sorry, just because what you're saying
That's fine.
is very important to me, and I didn't want to forget. So did you say the washing out of the trucks?
Yes.
Themselves? You're going to take it to the special facility that
Well,
Jackson
yes.
already has, right?
Well, the washout plant, it will be on the site, will be part of the batch plant,
The plant, washing out the plant.
the washing out the trucks.
Oh, so it will, so what's this where you're going twice a week to someplace?
Well, that's because it's the leftover materials from the trucks, right? Okay. It's just the leftover concrete from the trucks when they return back to the site. Truck comes to the site.
Yep.
And you fill it with cement and it goes to a job site.
Right?
And that job site ordered 10 yards of concrete.
Yes,
And and the truck has 10 yards of concrete.
yes.
And the contractor estimated wrong and they used 9 yards.
Okay.
So now the truck is coming back to the plant with 1 yard of cement still in the truck.
Yep.
What do I do with it?
You're right.
It gets, and I guess the operator will discuss about doing blocks, but it has to get recycled. And the washout, and the truck has to be washed out before it can accept the next load to the next project. So the washout facility is basically a dumpster where that material is poured into.
For material.
So, and every twice a week, that is brought,
The dumpster.
the dumpster is brought off-site to the recycling facility where it hardens and is recycled.
Gotcha. So it's the dumpster that goes twice a week to
Correct.
get
It's the
cleaned
dumpster
up.
that goes
It's not
twice
the
a week.
truck itself.
That's correct.
Okay,
That's
I
correct.
got you. That's all.
And the
Thank you.
applicant will describe that process in more detail.
And quite often, when you're dealing with a large construction site, there's a washout facility on the site.
Yep,
You know, not so much for a house. You know, if I'm building a garage on my property and I need a foundation, I wouldn't have a washout. But larger, if they're delivering concrete to a larger facility, often they have their own washout facilities on their sites as well. But it's a requirement of this NJPD's permit that we provide a washout facility or a means to recycle the returning unused concrete.
And that new GIPD's regulation is enforced by the NJDEP?
That's correct.
So, can you spell that?
Yes, it's NJ
NJ,
PDES.
NJ,
P
P,
D
E,
E
yes,
S.
S. Okay.
And to get nerdy about it, it's the New Jersey Pollution Discharge Elimination System.
Okay, and it specifically goes into concrete and cement and all that,
Well,
right?
it deals with many other
But-
things, but yes,
but
as it
that
relates
one-
to this use.
There's a list of industrial processes that each
Yep.
have their own criteria.
Okay, and then my final question, so you received some kind of letter or something, or you just go in and look at the criteria and make sure you apply? Like, do you,
Yes.
do you,
Yes.
Yes, there's criteria that's on the DEP's.
okay, not necessarily you get a letter, you ask them, hey, I'm gonna be doing this, can you guys make sure?
Yes, it's actually an over-the-counter permit.
Okay,
It's actually one that you apply for online and get it over the counter.
and you have it
In other words, you
already?
Get it immediately.
It's just not part of what you show
And
here?
when you
but-
apply for that permit, you certify that you're going to do these things.
Right, but you have that permit already?
No, we would obtain that as a
Oh, you need to
condition of this
apply
approval.
for it? Okay,
I'm
thank you.
not going to get a permit for something that's not approved by this board yet.
Yeah, I know, we get back and forth with that. Yep, okay. Thank you.
Ian, just for the record, could you discuss the height of the
The
land
silo.
processor?
Yeah.
Yes, oh, thank you, Dr. Hudson. I actually skipped over that. The maximum, our opinion is that, as I said, that both the batch plant and the the portable office trailer are both principal buildings. The maximum permitted height of a principal building in the LM zone is 50 feet. And I believe the silo has a height of 35 feet. But the maximum height is 50 feet. And we will certainly comply with that. No variance is requested for height.
I just have one question statement. The mobile office building, you said you need a variance, the rear setback.
Setbacks.
What happens if you turn it.
I thought the same thing when I read Mr. Peters' letter yesterday. So, yeah, we could, I didn't do the math if it eliminates variances, but we could turn the trailer 90 degrees and,
Minimize at least.
Yeah, I
maybe
think you
eliminate.
probably
I think
eliminate it based on-
in this case, and this is really digging into the planning testimony, but this, in my opinion, is a C1 condition where the exceptional shape, the depth is dictated by the existing, obviously the existing approved parking but the lack of depth between the wetlands and the.
But
project
you're
stream.
minimizing it.
We
by
could
turning
definitely
it.
We can
minimize
certainly
it.
minimize it.
I get, my other question, you're only looking for one of these batch plants, mobile batch plants. We're not going to be adding more
No.
as the business grows. It's
One.
just the one.
Right, and there was also a concern or question about, will any other businesses occur on site? This will be it. There won't be any other activity other than this.
Single tenant use.
I'm just wondering, because can't tell if there's more space that, if you get to be a big business. you
It's a
wanna
good
add
question.
to
Nope, single batch plant. That's all we're
That'll be
requesting.
part of the resolution.
Yes.
I
Where are you
think
getting
a-
the water
oh,
from?
okay.
We're proposing a well on the site.
Any idea where?
It would be right next to the batch plant.
All right. Where are the trailers going that are bringing in the concrete?
Bringing in the raw materials, they would deliver it and leave the site. They would not be parked on the site.
Where do you put the raw concrete then, the powder?
Well, the raw materials are back in this corner.
You can't put concrete outside. It's
No,
gotta
no,
stay
we're
in the-
not. The raw
Mr. Tremor,
materials,
if I might, Mr. Alfieri, did you plan on bringing up the ultimate user
Yes,
to discuss?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
I think you said at one point that you have two principal uses on the property?
No, structures.
Structures?
If you consider the trailer for the office bathroom as the principal structure, that would be the second. The silo is the.
Right. Two principal structures, one use.
And I could also interpret that trailer as an accessory to the main use, which is the batch plant, which is how I would do it, but
I can't imagine why you wouldn't do
Do
that.
that.
I agree. Because that use is not the principal use. The principal use is
Is
the
the batch
concrete.
plan, that is an accessory
Accessory
use.
use.
And if it's an accessory structure, it might even have
Sorry.
a lesser setback, but reorienting it is the most practical way of minimizing any impact.
What is the buffer made of that's separating the wetlands?
Well, there's a fence, and then what
Well,
else?
The fence is located at the wetland buffer line.
Right, what kind of?
The buffer itself is forested and the wetlands are forested.
So it's just a fence, so if, let's say we have a spill and there's runoff, there's nothing to stop it?
Well, all spillage would be maintained on the site because all the drainage, there's an existing stormwater basin that appeared in that one photograph, that exhibit A6, I believe. There's a stormwater basin here that collects the initial runoff from the entire site. So it would stay on site.
Yeah, I understand that, but let's say you roll over your loader right by the edge of your gravel and sand pile, and the fluids come out. Is there anything to keep it from going into the wetlands?
Yes, it would go into the site, into the drainage system on site.
So everything's going to be pitched in
Everything's
like a
pitched
ball?
into the center of the site, yes.
All right,
That's the way it's currently constructed.
all right. In the front of it says car/14 truck parking spaces. You're still keeping that there?
We don't need enough, that's just how it was originally.
That was what was proposed.
Right, so
Correct.
we have the 5 trucks.
5 trucks, 5 cars.
That's it.
All right, so I'm just curious, it's because it's still
Yeah.
there.
I understand. Well, it's just because that's the way it was approved, but we could change that to 10.
Yeah, I would like that.
Or 5 and 5.
All right, thanks.
Other questions from the board? Okay. Roma?
Mr. Borden, can you just clarify the term mobile batch plant? the silo is not moving, is that correct?
Correct. It's mobile to the extent it's brought to the site as a package. Once it's placed, it's not moved.
Okay. And then the board had concerns about runoff previously, and I feel they've been addressed with the clarification you gave about the DEP requirement for the paved area and the washout.
Thank you.
So you mentioned before, the mobile office, either you can have it pumped or septic, I think would be appropriate, being that it's a permanent structure, with workers that are there always, I think it would be appropriate to put in a septic system.
Oh, we'll be guided by your decisions. That's fine.
Thank you.
Peters, any comments? Okay.
I just remembered one question, sorry.
We're going to open the meeting.
Yeah, just one
I'm
question,
sorry.
sorry,
Okay.
I just remembered. You mentioned that you did get a letter of interpretation from DEP. This was what was the date of that letter?
23.
2023, okay.
And it's valid
And-
for 5 years.
Okay, and at that time, does it matter what it was gonna be used for?
The LOI is for the property regardless of.
Right, it's the other one that we just spoke about, you gave me
The
all the list
gypsies is related to the use.
to the use, okay,
That's actually a permit.
right, okay, thank you,
LOI doesn't give you the right to do anything.
right,
It just tells you where the wetlands are and what the buffer is.
understood,
And
thank
it's
you.
our job to stay away from them.
Yep, okay, thank you.
And this goes back to DEP if it's approved?
No,
Review it, they don't further review
no,
this.
just to get the Gypsies permit, but the LOI is locked in, regardless. We're not touching anything that's
Right.
deviates from where the LOI lines are.
Correct.
Further questions? Open the meeting to the public. Anybody who wishes to comment on the application, please come forward. Seeing nobody come forward, public session is closed.
We're now going to call the operator up. Thanks, Ian. Use the mic, and you're going to get sworn in.
Good afternoon, good evening. My
Raise
name
your
is
right hand.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll give this board will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
I swear I do.
And could you please state your name loudly and clearly into the microphone?
Joseph Garofalo.
Thank you.
And Mr. Garofalo, how are you affiliated with this application?
I'm the owner of Richmond Ready Mix.
Right, and you're either going to be a tenant and/or the property owner at some point.
Correct.
So, and can you just tell the board a little bit about Richmond Ready Mix?
So we're a concrete producer in New York, New
The mic
Jersey.
closer to you.
I'm sorry.
Right
New
here.
York, New Jersey. We've been in business for about 10 years now. We run a large operation out of Staten Island and Brooklyn also. And we're now we do a lot of work in Newark Airport. We do a lot of work with the Turnpike Authority and also the Garden State Parkway, the Parkway. So this would take a lot of truck traffic off the road for us, relieve some of the tolls that we endure right now, and be beneficial to our company.
Can you describe well, you heard the testimony about the number of trucks and the number of employees and the hours of operation. That's all how you would live with those limitations, correct?
Absolutely.
So I think the reason we want you up here is to explain the process. What happens when the truck, how does material get to the site? And then how did the trucks get to the site? And what happens on site and where do they go from there?
So the trucks come, we have material delivered to the site on a daily basis. We get some sand delivered, stone delivered, and also powder delivered.
And where is that stored?
The powder is stored in the silos, enclosed with a dust collector. So when the powder trailers are blowing off, there's no dust going into the air. Sand and stone are delivered and dumped into the piles that are shown on the.
They're in bins.
They're in bins, right? We create bin blocks and then store the material in those bin blocks, and our loader loads them into the plant. And the plant weighs up all the materials, cement, sand, stone, and then some water is added at the facility through the batch plant. It's weighed first or metered, and then the truck is sent out, and in transit to the job, the truck actually mixes the concrete.
And that measuring is computer measuring?
It's
not-
all computerized measuring, yes. Everything is on loads, it's called a load cell, and then scales, it goes back to a scale in the office, and every mix that is created has different weights, and that computer ensures that their weights are correct, and then the truck goes out.
The, what type of trucks, you said you have material delivered every day to the
Yes.
site. What type of trucks make those deliveries?
The powder would come twice a day in a trailer at different times, probably one in the morning and one mid-afternoon. And dump trucks of sand and stone would come probably 4 to 5 times a day.
And then how frequently do your 5 trucks come and go from the site on a normal day?
I would say each truck would probably do approximately 3 loads.
All right, and then the mixing or the computer-generated mixing, or it's not mixing, what do you call it when it's going into the truck?
Batching.
Batching. Does that generate any noise, that system?
It generates a noise, but it's not as loud as any type of banging that you would hear with regular cars and stuff driving by. It's not a, offensive volume.
And then you heard comments and questions about spillage. What type of spillage, if any, occurs during the normal operation? Like, does any of the product fall out of the silo and onto the ground, or is it all contained somehow into the...
It's all contained into the truck with a dust collector. Anything that's, when it's loading into the truck, there's a tremendous dust collector that's sucking all the dust as the truck is loading.
Now, you heard Ian describe this washout facility. Can you just elaborate on that process?
So yeah, sometimes the trucks will come back if there is not a place on a job site to wash out, but 95% of the jobs that we do, there is a place to wash out. The trucks need to not necessarily wash out, we call it washing in. So they rinse their fins down and the blades, because they'll only have water inside the truck at that time once the truck is empty. They'll clean the blades with water and come back to the facility. If there is any concrete left over, we have what they call blocks. They're 2 by 2 by 6 feet. They're forms. We make these blocks and make bins out of them, and we do sell them to contractors and other people, so there is no waste.
First of all, those sales, you don't have a retail operation, right?
No. We take them out on our own and get rid of them. It's not like people are gonna pull up and ask for block. They come by the order, and we make the delivery of them if there are any.
And then you heard Mr. Borden talk about this dumpster that would go to a recycling facility. What type of material goes into that? If you're using the excess concrete for blocks, what else would go into that?
You still have resin on the blades inside the truck. So what the guys will do at the end of the day, not every load, because once you have water in the truck, the water's good. It's not it doesn't go bad. So when we have at the end of the day, the resin from the blades after they rinse them down, they will dump into it kind of looks like a construction container that you would see when they're doing like a demolition with a special lining inside so the water doesn't seep out. And at the end of every other day, depending how busy we are, we would get rid of that probably every other day. It collects all the muck, the concrete residue inside the truck into there, and it all settles to the bottom.
I think that covers the operations, Mr. Chair, if you have questions.
Through the chair. Okay. First of all, thank you very much for that clarity. It's very helpful for the board. We don't always get that kind of clarity on such applications from the actual operation standpoint, so I appreciate that. You mentioned that you're creating these blocks. First of all, what's the process for, how do you make them? And where are you planning on storing them? And is there any other trucks that are necessary or needed for that kind of operation?
No. So usually the block would only be made with leftovers if there was an order for them. Otherwise, like what they were describing, it will go into a container and then leave. But if we did make the block, they would be taken to our facility in Staten Island where we have a 5-acre site, and they would be stored there.
So they're not being made on site here?
It could happen on the site. There's a form, and they're poured into a form, it's contained, and then they're picked up and taken away. But that's only if we're going to make them, if we have an order.
Right, so I just want to clarify, because if we're doing that, then it looks to me like there's another use on the property. And then the question is, storage, setbacks, and the like, how that would play out, so.
I don't know if it's another use because it's the recycling of the main product, which is the concrete. So it may not be another use, but there is a location. So I
Please
don't
testify
disagree.
to it, that's why I'm bringing it
So
up.
where-
Thank
Where
you.
would that occur? Do you,
So if there was no permitting of doing that, we would just dump the concrete out and take it to a local facility.
but do you need, like, for example, you see
No, it
where the
doesn't
bins,
take
you
any
see where
type-
the bins are?
Yes. No, it doesn't take, the block is 2 feet wide by 2 feet wide. It's 2 by 2. It's the size of, it's not even half the size of this table. And the height is 2 feet high also. It's 2 by 2 by 2.
But that's not an important component of your
No,
business.
if it doesn't, if we
It's
do it
really-
not to create waste.
It's more
So
for recycling
it's
purposes.
more, right, not to have stuff to go to recycle and be used and thrown in the garbage.
Gina,
Thank you, Dr. Hofstein. Just to piggyback off that, Sal, the argument could be made that it would be a manufacturing. I understand the point you're making, that it's to recycle the material, the byproduct, if you will, of your primary product production. But there is an argument to be made there, so I just
Okay,
want that on the
and
record.
That's okay, but, and the truth is, it's not important to
It's a
us,
minute
so it's
point,
not
right.
worth debating. If you don't want it, we won't do it. It's easy.
Right, it is a minute point, but I did want to
I
just
agree, I understand.
address that to the board. Just to circle back on, you had touched earlier in your statement about the noise and how it really isn't anything that would be considered a nuisance or anything.
Offensive.
Thank you. I couldn't remember the word you used. I just want to, again, put on the record for the board that we do have noise ordinances on the books, more specifically to reference 291-1.1 for construction and/or demolition work, which just states a slight differential of hours outside of the statement of operation hours that you stated in the most recent January 22nd, 2026. You had put from 6 to 6, and I just wanted to put on the record that this exact reference, this prohibition, is regardless of the noise generated as set forth elsewhere in this chapter, and it does specify construction and/or demolition work. Again, an argument can be made, and it goes into specify that 8 p.m. to 7 a.m. is quiet hours Monday through Friday, and it's 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. on weekends and any federally recognized holiday. So that is just something to keep in mind, because his statement of operations does kind of operate outside. I don't know, he does, the applicant does state that it is not going to be offensive noise, but again, just want to put it on the record. Thank you.
And I'm not sure this is considered construction, Gina, so, but again, I guess the question is, if the issue is starting at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m., is that?
So we don't really start sending the concrete out until after 7 usually, but we open the gates up and we have preparation work to do before we just start turning the plant on and going. So, the workers got to come in, they get themselves settled. They got to turn the plant on itself, the power to the plant. We don't leave it on overnight and unguarded. So there's about 30 to 40 minutes of preparation. So they would just be on site, but not making noise at those times. And the last load, we don't want to be delivering concrete in the dark. So 3, 4 o'clock is the last time the plant usually goes on, unless if we have like a situation where somebody ran a little short. But the
Right.
majority of the time, where they're union labor. So after 8 hours, it's time and a half, and
Pro-union.
it's right.
Thank you for clarifying. And it doesn't say that you can't operate those hours. Businesses are open those hours all throughout town. I wanted to just put it on the record so you as the applicant knew, and as well as the board knew that those noises, and I know, I'm not going to bug you, Sal. It goes into more definitions if we were to go there. But
And we have
again,
to comply.
I'm very transparent and I like to clarify.
And the board can't give relief to that anyway, right? We have-
Correct.
We
It
have to
was-
comply whether we like it or not.
Right, it was more transparency so the applicant knew as
Understood.
well.
Thank you.
Just if you could clarify, the concrete trucks, do they have to pour within a certain amount of time and therefore they're limited on how far they could service?
Yeah, it's on. A load of concrete is good for usually 90 minutes unless some chemicals added, and then you usually get about 120 minutes out of it.
Okay, and that's why you chose this location. It's close to I-95 or?
Right, it's close to I-95, it's close to 195, so, you're very, you're close to a lot of the major intersections.
Thank you.
The comment?
Mr. Garofalo, thank you for your testimony. I'm trying to fill in some numerical blanks. Average concrete truck, how much concrete's in it?
10 yards, 10 or 11 yards, depending on the design of the truck.
So if you've got 5 trucks, 3 loads a day, that's round figure 150 yards a day.
Yeah,
Um, I guess I'm trying to make sure that there's adequate room and circulation, and this may be more of a Mr. Borden comment about how much material gets brought in. So if you're creating 150 yards of concrete a day, how many yards of stone, how many yards of sand, how many yards of cement? How
so
many
it's about
trucks, where's
75 to 80 tons of sand, and sand and stone are probably the exact amount of ingredients in the product.
I guess to Mr. Alfieri, at some point, we're going to figure out where these are going to go. I know we're doing
In the
use or
bins.
I'm sorry?
Where the product's going to be stored?
Yes.
Yeah, we know where they're going to be stored,
Okay.
in those bins. And that's why he said there will be several trips a day where they'll be receiving the product, the raw
Oh,
material.
the raw materials,
Yeah.
yes.
What's the fuel source for the batch plant?
The fuel source is electric.
Okay. Is it just regular, whatever's out on?
Yeah, we checked it out. The power is out there. We might have to be a little bit increased to what is there now, but it's sufficient. It's sufficient to what we run off of.
Okay. I guess this is more of a neighborly comment. You understand that right next door is a park and ride facility.
Yes.
So while the number of trucks, the hours of trucks, the noise from the trucks, I don't know if that bothers anybody. Dust is going to bother people. Can you, without making cast in stone promises, can you talk about dust control for this type of use? Because I don't know, maybe 2 people on the board have probably been to a batch plant.
Okay.
So right next door are Jackson Township residents who commute every day. You're going to be a new use next door. Give them some assurance that the type of use you're proposing doesn't create this cloud of dust that's going to end up on people's cars next door.
So all the products that go into the truck, the sand, the stone, powder is kept stored and airtight. Obviously, it cannot get wet. So if it was able to blow away, that means that our silo was not airtight. So we'd be getting water inside, and we'd have rocks inside. So we perform tests every day. We clean the streets. One of the guys that works at the plant is just the design to hose and keep everything, dust control down. The guys also wash rinse down their truck to get any dust off as they're leaving the plant. Tires are washed.
Appreciate that. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. Any other comments, Carlos?
Yes. So on the dust collector, right? On these pictures that we got, is there a picture of that dust collector on here? Or I'm just trying to imagine how big it is. And you don't have to, that's okay. I just know you had a lot of pictures and thought maybe the actual dust collector might be on here.
Anthony, could you go to A3, please?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was looking here. Yeah, exactly that one. Yeah. Is there a picture?
Zoom in, please.
To me, that's a critical piece of, you know.
Absolutely. So up there is the muffler, so it prevents the
Okay.
noise. But I can't really, it's on the other side, it's not really showing you. Oh, there, right on there is
Okay.
the dust collector, and that is the muffler for the dust collector that keeps it to a quiet.
Okay. Okay. So that's cool. Okay.
That's the
And-
muffler, and then if you go to the other picture and scroll up a little bit. Right there's the blower motor. That whole thing is the blower motor
Okay.
that sucks the dust from the load point area, which is right here.
Okay. So let me ask you, so it sucks it, and then where does it go?
All the collection from the
Cleaned up?
from the cement dust
Uh-huh.
goes back into the silo and is reused.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Save you money.
Oh, saves me
I got
cleaning
you.
money from cleaning.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. That does lead me to my next question. So this CM, what do you guys call it?
Semco.
Semco 275. So have you used this machine before in your other locations?
Yes, I have one of them now. I actually have two of them right now.
Okay. Have you had any problems with it, especially leaking of the dust and all? Like, does it
No.
work good? Is
No.
this a good machine?
That machine's over about $1.5 million. So it better be good. But
Okay.
we built the entire Amazon facility in Staten Island with one of those machines.
Okay.
So it's
And-
very,
Right. And you haven't had any issues with the
No.
blowers and the sucking up the
No,
up the cement, right? In your other locations?
no, we don't
Okay.
have it, thank God, because we're actually under, I think, higher standards, because we deal with a lot more agencies in New York than New Jersey has.
Yeah, yeah. But I would figure you probably have more residential stuff
No, I
around
don't,
you.
thank God. But
Yeah,
we're
okay.
in a commercial zone similar to
Yes,
this.
okay, yeah. I just wanted, your experience with this machine specifically. So you do have experience with it. So that gives a little credibility to everything that you're telling us. So I appreciate that. Okay, hold on a second.
Just so you understand, there's a pinch valve. It's called a pinch valve on the side of the plant. That there's indicators for the bins. So if it ever was going to overflow, that thing, the pinch valve locks out the truck from pumping anything, so it can never come out of the top of the silo.
Okay, fair enough. And so my other little concern, so it's mobile, right?
Yes.
Your other ones are also mobile.
Yes.
You've never had strong enough wind that would tip it over.
No, that thing holds 80 tons of cement powder inside alone.
Okay. If you look at it, it's really tall, and
Yeah,
I know
no,
we
I
get a lot of
understand.
wind around here. But it's never tipped over, nothing like that.
I've never heard of any concrete plant tipping over.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, it's called mobile, so you kind of.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, I understand.
Yep. Okay. Thank you for that as well. And I think I'm done. Thank you.
Any other comments from the board? Do you have any other witness you'd like
We
to
have
present?
Scott Kennel, who will be brief because the traffic is minimal, and then Ian's going to come up and just wrap up the
Okay.
planning testimony. But Scott will be no more than 3 minutes direct.
Thank you.
No pressure, Scott.
Excellent. Just pointing out it's 10:17.
Yes.
You swear or affirm that the testimony you'll give before this board will be the truth and nothing but the truth.
Yes, I do.
And please state your name and credentials for the record.
Yes, Scott Kennel, Kennel, with McDonough and Ray Associates, located at 1431 Lakewood Road, Manasquan. I'm a principal with McDonough and Ray Associates with over 40 years of traffic and transportation planning experience, having testified in over 2,000 site plan applications and been qualified by New Jersey Superior Court as a traffic expert.
Okay, I accept your.
Thank you.
Thank
Scott,
you.
so you
You're
heard the
accepted, okay.
operational testimony, and the concern would be what the traffic impact, if any, this would have on the local roads.
Correct. And we provided estimates in our report dated December 5, 2025. Based on the statement of operations in the prior testimony, We developed traffic projections during the morning and afternoon peak hours and basically projected traffic, two-way traffic at 20 trips in the morning, 20 trips in the afternoon. And those generally occur when the employees are arriving at the site and when the employees are leaving the site at the end of the day. And that is well below the threshold that is typically considered of 100 trips for studying an off-site location. And our firm has been involved in another application that was on Progress Place where it intersects Cedar Swamp and we came up with level of service C at that location. The other thing I'll speak to that was raised as a question at the last hearing was the site distance at Progress and Cedar Swamp. Based on the speed limit of Cedar Swamp Road, a site distance of 610 feet is required. The site distance to the north is in excess of 800 feet, as well as the site distance to the south is in excess of 800 feet. So the site distance at the intersection of Progress and Cedar Swamp meets and exceeds the recommended standards. And again, as far as on-site circulation, I've reviewed the plans prepared by Ian and agree with that the site has been designed to accommodate the large wheelbase vehicles that will be servicing the site.
So we have of Mr. Kennel, Mr. Chair.
Questions?
So is your testimony that the slow-moving trucks that are going to be exiting the facility are not going to be affected or affecting the traffic on the road on Progress?
Well, again, there's a lot of other heavy vehicles that use Progress as part of the other industrial buildings. So again, the type of traffic generated by this site is consistent with other users that exist on Progress. And the fact that we have site distance well in excess of recommended standards will accommodate those vehicles that have a lower acceleration than passenger vehicles.
And the fact that it's next door to the park and ride, how does that affect?
It's no impact from my perspective. Again, as far as the morning time period, there's some overlap, but in the afternoon, most commuters leave after 6 o'clock, and this operation, as indicated, will in all likelihood be closed by 4:30, 5 o'clock.
Thank you.
Besides, there aren't that many buses coming and going during the day anyway.
Yeah, and there's only essentially 15 trips during the course of the day, 5 trucks 3 times a day, so, and they're spread out, so it's really minimal.
When I visited the site, directly across the street, there were maybe 15 to 20 cars parked in front of the building, which has enough parking in the back for people who use the building. Do you have any idea where that's coming from? Or is it just people who are using the
Probably
buses?
want to use the front of the building, and it's more convenient than where the parking spaces are. I don't know. I'm not aware of what the cause of that situation is and why that occurs.
I just thought it was maybe people who didn't want to pay for parking.
Well, that may be too. I don't know.
parking
If there's a fee or a permit fee to park in that lot, that may be the cause.
There is for people out of Jackson.
Okay.
Other questions? Yes.
The 800-foot sight line, the 800-foot sight line that you have,
Correct. Yes.
what does that equate back to for a speed of a car coming down Cedar Swamp?
Oh, it's in excess of a 70-mile-an-hour design speed. So I know that people do travel more than 50, and the design speed, or the 610 feet that I presented, was based on the design speed of 55 miles per hour.
Further questions? Okay, one more time, we'll open this to the public. Anybody wishing to come forward to make any comments on previous testimony, please come forward. Nobody come forward. Public session is closed. Mr. Alfieri.
Thank you.
Now we're just going to recall Mr. Borden to just tie the planning testimony to the operational testimony. And he'll also be brief since it's now 10:20 something. 23. Who's counting? Mr. Borden, you're still under oath and you're still a planner. Okay, go ahead.
So what we have is, I guess we've
The microphone. Now it is.
The batch plan is the principal building, which has a front setback of 102 feet, a rear setback to wetlands greater than 50 feet, so no variances are required for the location of that. The office trailer is a accessory building, which is not permitted in the front yard, which is 100 feet. So we will turn that sideways and ensure that it's more than 100 feet from Progress Place. The rear setback required for an accessory building is 50 feet. By turning it sideways, we save 20 feet of setback. So the rear setback will be approximately 33 feet. So I would testify that that would be a C1 variance due to the exceptional shape and of the property being, as I testified earlier, that the pinch, thank you, between the wetlands and the Progress Place right-of-way line. We've certainly minimized that by turning the building and complying with the front setback is I think more important, creating the variance at the rear of the trailer than in the front. As I earlier testified, we do comply with the building coverage and impervious coverage requirements. There were previous set variances granted on the original approval for the parking setback from the right-of-way, as well as the property line, 13 feet to the right-of-way and 1.5 to the property line, where 20 and 10 are respectively required. Those are pre-existing approved variances that are constructed and are not being exacerbated by this project. So, and on the use, we have the LM zone, which permits processing and assembly. Get into my notes here. In my opinion, the use is permitted under the language in the ordinance. The zoning officer had determined that the use was not approved. I guess Mr. Burborough had decided that the use was not permitted. So, although I do believe is permitted, I believe I testified at the December 17th meeting that we'll put facts on the record to justify the D1 variance as an expansion of an existing non-conforming use under a D2 criteria, because this site had been granted a D variance for the previous parking use. And in my opinion, it complies with the purpose of zoning under A, to encourage municipal action to guide the appropriate development of all lands. Under G, to provide sufficient space and appropriate locations for a variety of uses in accordance with the environmental requirements. We do comply with all environmental requirements. The site is a light industrial zone. We are proposing a light industrial use. The Medici rules do not apply here. Instead, what we have is we have to show particular suitability of this use to this site. And in my opinion, clearly the fact that the site has already been approved and developed as a light manufacturing use, or was granted a variance in the light manufacturing zone, it's particularly suitable, because obviously the alternative would be to find a site for this use that's not developed and develop on an undeveloped piece of property, and this is much preferred and particularly suitable for this particular use. So I believe we meet the positive purposes of zoning, and this proposed use does not substantially is not a substantial detriment to the public good nor the master plan, zone plan, and ordinances. Especially since the master plan specifically encourages processing uses in the LM zone.
That's all we have.
Any closing comments?
Well, I don't know if Ernie always likes to ask a planning question. I don't know if he has any. Ernie? No? But if there are none, I do have a 1-minute closing statement. And
I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, I don't know if this is a planning, but that permit, the NPDES.
The gypsies.
Yeah. is that gonna be a stipulation that you have to get that you
We have no choice. We have to get it.
have to get it,
We
otherwise
will
operations
acknowledge,
can't start.
we'll acknowledge in the resolution that there was representation made that that is a required permit that will be obtained.
As well as any other all outside agency.
Okay, and then I can't help myself, I'm an ex-auditor. In the statement of operations, there's a little typo. I'll show you guys later if you want to fix it or not.
Okay.
In one place, we call it MCBP,
Okay.
which is the mobile concrete batch plant. And then right below it, we call it MCPB.
That's my,
Yeah, so anyway. don't worry.
sometimes I wonder if I'm dyslexic.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
yes.
Okay, we know. For discussion, I think one of the.
No, I just think, I mean,
Oh,
if
I
you compare this use to what was previously approved with the outdoor storage of all those, all that material and equipment and the traffic that we generate by that to this minimal use, we think it's a home run for the town to have this instead of the approved use. That's all.
Thank you. And if I just may, Dr. Hofstein, just so that we're all clear, there's a release, the requested relief is for use variance for installation of a mobile batch plant and mobile office with restroom, both to be permanent structures despite portability, the mobile batch point being the primary structure and the mobile office with restroom is secondary. The variances that were discussed were the rear, also on the rear yard was 50 required, 30 is proposed. The other variance was eliminated by the reconfiguration, reorientation of the office. You've heard the testimony on the positive, negative criteria and the conditions that were discussed, that they will not be moved around on the site, even though it's called mobile, that it will be a permanent structure. Maximum of 5 trucks to be parked on the site at any given time. Bulk storage standards from the 2022 approvals will continue to be on the site. It will be the only business on the site and the only batch, will be only one batch plan, hours of operation 6 to 6. Restroom to be on a septic system. There will be a well on site next to the batch plant. There will be a knock box for emergency services. And approval from the Bureau of Fire Prevention will be required. And as stated, there'll be an acknowledgement about need for outside approvals, including in 50s, no maintenance of the trucks on site, no manufacturing of block on site, all industrial activity to remain shielded from the street.
Just to clarify, was that flipping the office building? I don't think it took away the setback. I think it just made it a little bit smaller.
It took away the front yard setback and it made
The rear is
rear
still
yard
had.
setback. She did from
Yeah, I
50
know
to
the
Okay,
30.
rear
good,
yard
fine.
side,
I
the
just
front
wanted to
yard side
clarify.
was one
Thank you, yes.
That would,
Perfect,
one
thank-
that was eliminated.
Sure.
I
Thank you.
You included septic in the resolution?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, any further comments? We'll have a motion.
I would just say that originally when they came to us at the first meeting, I was pretty skeptical. After this meeting, I think we got a lot of clarity. And I think it's a great application and enhancement. And with all the stipulations mentioned, I think that it's consistent with the master plan, the positive criteria. I would make a motion to approve.
I second that.
Mr. Hyman,
Yes.
Mr. Martins,
Yes.
Ms. Rosal,
Yes.
Mr. Tremor.
I'm voting yes, but I believe you're going to have a major problem with dust at certain times of the year, but that's on you. So yes.
Ms. Cusano,
Yes.
Mr. Seleckia.
Yeah, I have the same concerns that Mr. Trimmer has. I don't know if this is the best thing for the site, but I'll vote yes, but I do have some concerns.
A yes? Yes? Are you a yes?
Yes.
Sorry. And Dr. Hofstein?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Almost
Motion to
10:30.
close?
Have a motion to adjourn.
Yes, motion.
Second.
All in favor?
You get an honorary